rates. Managers don't see the coaching gaps. Motivation fades, revenue stalls. Introducing Rocket Booster, the next evolution of performance management and training for dealerships. See real-time close rates by product and compare against store averages. Fuel healthy competition with product-specific leaderboards. Track progress over time. Spot gaps instantly. But how does Rocket Booster actually work? It starts by connecting with your dealership's DMS system to gather real performance data. For example, how many customers say yes to service, such as brakes, batteries, or alignments? Then, Booster turns that data into clear dashboards inside the Rocket app. You'll instantly see how your team ranks in each product compared to their peers and store averages. And here's the game changer. Booster links your performance to personalized training. So you don't just see the numbers, you actually get the tools to improve them. With Rocket Booster, training isn't a checkbox. It's an automated performance engine. The results speak for themselves. Real lifts in performance across dealerships, where the whole team levels up. Every advisor, every product, every time. Advisors see how to win. Managers see where and what to coach, not just who. In short, real data, real insights, and real improvement. All automated, all inside Rocket Booster.
Started small with a dream in our hands, helping good people grow the brands. Built on service, doubt and truth. We grind each day for the clients we choose. Not some set it and forget it show. We dive in deep where the numbers flow. From auto lots to homes that shine, we make their message rise online. We're search engines MD, the real deal.
Do me a great favor and give a nice warm welcome to Christian Jordan, the CEO of Remora.
Thank you. A lot of these things I'm going to show you, some people have never seen before, and it has been my work passion for 20 years now to get this right. I started by building a website for the dealership that I worked at, which was Santa Fe Ford in Gainesville, Florida. And it was so powerful and so much just changed the entire culture at the store. I couldn't bottle it up for one store, and that's when I decided to start a company, and that was in 2008. Since then, the reality is modern search is a battle of the webmasters. It really comes down to the technology that's running your website, and most of the things you have zero control over. So that choice of who is serving your website is vitally important for your business. I don't know how well you can see this, but I'll read it. It's used Nissan Rogue. We're getting a lot of nice visibility in the AI search. This is coming from just that what we do is genuine and real. So Google can turn the knobs constantly on the algorithm, and they do. But what they can't change is the input.
All right, guys. Welcome back to day 2 with a power panel sponsored by Reunion Marketing, moderated by Sean Kinth. Leads a discussion on turning data into measurable marketing performance. We're exploring how smart insights create stronger campaigns and real ROI for dealerships of any size.
We're obviously going beyond that. We're going to continue the conversation today. We have some great panels today, and we need your support. We're live streaming this. This is all being captured. The audience is certainly greater than what's in the room here. But if you're here, if you're in the Jacksonville area, if you're at the Sawgrass Resort, be in the room, please. Be in the room, support all the panels, and so let's support these great sponsors that we have that are doing all the wonderful things for us, because none of this happens without the support of these vendor partners that we have that make our business successful. Let's give them all a round of applause for all the ones that have supported it so far. Derek has mentioned there's a raffle going on. If you want to be a part of it, there are still tickets available. Take the moment and go by and get some tickets for the raffle. You'll learn more about it later today, but again, it's a couple nights here at the resort, a couple players on the course, a couple $100 at the shop. That's 2, 2, and 2 for those of you following along in the math. What I want to do, speaking of sponsors though, Connor, you've got a video for me to show right now. Please do that. Yes. Yeah, let's hear more about it. But to introduce the next panel, Sean Niff, got to get on up here. Known as Niff, Sean Niffen has been a great member of our auto industry for many years. He's going to be part of the fireside chat a little bit later on. We're going to get more details. But no, for now, he is the video trainer manager at NCM. Sean, it's all yours.
Thanks, man.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it. All right. Well, guys, come on up here. You know who you are. Adam, Greg, Dave, Kevin. Awesome. I have to sit down. Stand up. There's not enough chairs. All right. A lot of brain power up here. Now I have to stand by this mic. I'm used to walking. Good morning. All right. Well, guys, if you could just take a quick second and introduce yourself, what you do, your title, how long you've been in the business.
Kevin Fry, head coach of marketing at the Jeff Weiler Automotive family. Been in the business 25 years.
I'm Adam Gilry, president of Savvy Dealer. Been in the business, 25 years.
Yeah, I've only been in 20 years, 10 years retail and 10 years at Reunion. Dave Sponeke, founder and CEO.
Greg Ash, founder and president of M1 Data and Analytics. Been in the business about 20 years.
Yeah. So 90 years experience, not counting me. That's amazing. That's awesome, right? It's amazing how fast it goes too, right? So we're going to talk about data. And data's been a really hot topic for many, many years now. I remember when Kevin and I launched our CDPs, and it was a very narrow lane, and now AI has been introduced, and it's crazy wide width. I mean, you got to have a peripheral vision because it's impacting every aspect of our business, our operations. And one of the things I want to find out from you all, and I'll start with Kevin on this one because he and I have talked about this quite a bit, and that is this term called actionable data. Like, there's a lot of data being collected, but is it really useful, right?
So I'm going to put Sean on the spot first because we've done this CDP journey for the last 2.5 years. And I have all these people keep saying, wow, Kevin, you're leading in the industry. The leader is right there, folks. He was years ahead of all of us. So I want to hear a big round of applause for Sean Niff. You are the rock and roll star on this. I'm kind of changed my mind on this, and I talked to Sean about it yesterday morning, but to me, informational data would be like, for example, on a website, like just a scroll through and things like that. So one of the projects I've had with our CDP is we have hundreds of millions of website events. I have all of this data. So I'm like, I'm going to take the last 2 years of people we sold cars to and look at what are the top 10 most common events that are relevant to them buying a car. And everybody in here thinks it's got to be a phone call or a form submission or a live chat initiation. It isn't. And what I'm finding is a lot of the things that I thought were informational, I believe are going to be actionable in its patterns. If I have so many scrolls and more than 3.2 SRP page results, things to that nature. So I'm going to share with you transparently, I don't know what that answer is today. I think it's being redefined, Sean.
That's a great answer. Dave Sponeke, what is your take on this? You work with a lot of dealers.
Yeah, well, I can understand why you asked this. So, a lot of you know me from Reunion, but I'm also the president of the Vendor 20 group. And so we always bring in dealers to our 20 groups, the same way that the dealer 20 groups bring in, different vendors to share insights. And so Sean was one of many, and then April Simmons, I think, was the one after you. And then she told us that she has 35 different platforms that she is looking at information and data. And so I think one of the things that vendors need to do in general is understand that we can't just present data. So like for us, we're looking at SEO. If we're just saying, hey, traffic's up, or, your cost per clicks are looking good, or your conversion rate's looking good, what does that mean? And so when you start looking at just the vanity metrics, traffic's up, traffic's down. If you're in SEO and you're bragging about traffic right now because as a whole there are less clicks, the traffic's going down. What is your search impression share? How do you relate to the market? Where are you not showing up that you can start building a plan? And so if you instead of just looking at these metrics that are I guess expected or the historical ones, come with an actual plan and compare yourself to your position in the market and where you're weak, and especially bring areas that you're not doing well. And it's not just a cheerleading, rah way to go meeting. And that's what's going to create better meetings with your dealers.
That's great. Greg, one of the things that we used to be really frustrated with was what I call the green arrow reporting. The agency would report back like, well, you were up this much and down this much. And it was never really solid data. But what's your thought on that? Big sigh.
I mean, there's a few different ways to approach that. I mean, like Dave said, a lot of dealers care about vanity metrics. Okay, that really don't mean anything. Kevin's completely right that, what's informational versus what's actionable has changed substantially pretty much since COVID. It changed the car buying experience. So I don't really know how to answer that question, to be completely frank with you. I think dealers need to focus more on the transition from the online to offline experience, rather than, this blue line went up or this green line went down or whatever have you.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Can I defend them here for a second?
Yeah.
Because the reality, I'm on the dealership side and we have the dashboards and everything. You got to make the reporting simple. A green arrow, good. It comes down to that. We laugh, but it's true. And as a dealer, I support that. I get it. You've got to make it very easy to read for people.
Adam, how do you think dealers realize that you guys are helping them measure the right data?
So I think there's a couple of things. I think the real quick answer is if the reports show green when you're selling 80% of the time and red when you're not selling, you're close, because there's a lot of fraud. We talk about attribution. Really, our battle is what's fake traffic? What's fake advertising that's not ever going to correlate to a sale? And so I always tell everyone, set this up as a funnel. You've got impressions and you've got sales, and there's a million steps in between. But if you kind of break out which steps those are, you can find when things blow up. We had a situation where it was tons of impressions, tons of leads, low sales. Well, we knew that we knew which part of the funnel to look, and sure enough, we had a section was off 60%. So we pulled the whole BDC in and figured out what was going on, instead of bouncing around saying, well, sales did it, marketing did it. Let's just fight about it.
Interesting. Kevin, you and I were talking the other day, and every once in a while we just start connecting again, and then we go vacant for about a year, and then we catch up again. It's amazing. But one of the things that we were talking about was this management of the data. Should we really try to take it on? Because we're trying to extract all this actionable data out of our metrics. But should we do it on our own, or do we really need to hire an expert?
Thanks for the controversial questions.
Experts, right?
We're here to do, man.
But I'm going to answer it. So the first part, the number one question I'm getting today is, as a dealer, should I get a CDP, or is this the hot and trendy buzzword of the day? And my answer is this: if you're having someone over for dinner, what do? You clean your house and you make the best meal that they love, right? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I got news. You have a guest coming over for dinner sooner rather than later. That guest is named AI, and their favorite meal is data. So you better start cleaning your house, because everything you're hearing at this conference is based around data. So I'm telling you, there's no question on that. And I can talk to you further about how to do it inexpensively. But I'm no fool. I've been around and I know some of these big groups that have spent 7 figures to build out these CDPs, and they've decided, I'm going to manage this myself. And I'm going to give you my experience and what my thoughts are on that. And number one, it's a very expensive endeavor. If you want to do it, you're going to have to hire a data scientist, which is going to be a 6-figure salary, a staff of 3, 5, 10, 12 people, depending on the size of group, to make it actionable. But let me take it a step further. I know a lot of you in here have bought third-party data. I mean, I bought Experian data. It cost me a fortune. Do you think a large outside provider pays that same price? But the number one issue is going to be your liability. At your level, you should be managing the risk liability for any decision you make, and to manage the privacy requirements, not just federal, but every single state, and then add on OEM compliance. My answer is do not do it yourself. Focus on moving metal, which is your core value. Hire the professionals to do this full time. And if I aggravated some of the bigger groups, well, so be it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Any thoughts? Go ahead.
I just want to throw out there too, but make sure if you're trusting someone to silo your data, you have the opportunity to walk away with that data at some point. Make sure there's no, it's our data now problem.
Awesome, great. Greg, I want to shift this over to you a little bit. And obviously, there's a lot of sources for data. And we were talking about how many data centers exist in Columbus, Ohio, and Facebook built $1 billion data center just for pictures in Columbus. $1 billion. It's amazing, right? But we want data to reveal true purchase intent. And I'm really curious what you think are the top metrics that dealers should be looking at when it comes to real intent, real consumer behavior.
So there's multiple answers to that. So the consumer journey of buying a vehicle is a long journey. It obviously generally starts at search. So search is obviously important. There's your plug, Dave. Social media is going to be important as well. A lot of people spend time on various social media platforms. So to remarket to them or re-engage and, build your brand and, for them to choose your dealership over the competing dealership is important. I think a lot of the website data will show you intent. Kevin said, hundreds of millions of rows of data, how many scrolls, what they're comparing, SRP, VDP, finance offers, whatever have you. I think it's all important, but you just need to understand where each of those elements occur in that consumer journey to, from online to their offline experience into the dealer.
That's good. Dave, got any thoughts?
Yeah, this is actually one of the most exciting things I think that we've been really pushing recently is creating market understanding, and it's actually really surprising to me really how many dealerships don't really understand their market. And so, one of the things that before looking at search, before looking at anything is, how are you selling within your market, within your AOR, by zip code, and how are you comparing to the competition? So we like to look at, in our backyard, we should have a significant dominance, right around the dealership. We should be selling, 50, 75, 80% of all the cars that get sold there. And then as you go out, well, who are the competitors around me that are selling into my market, and why are they selling into my market? And then you can start identifying, looking at maybe inventory levels. Do I have more inventory? Do I have better price cars? Are they a volume dealership, or are they trying to hold gross? And you can start really creating a strategy based on how the market's doing and identifying, and I look at it like a game of risk where, I own this area, but I want to start pumping some more money specifically right here in these areas. And I don't care about vanity metrics like cost per click. I'll spend $8 a click if I can go and start stealing market share. And so when you start looking at marketing, and marketing starts with market, that's really an opportunity to be more strategic and start putting your money in the areas where you haven't historically sold cars, but you could.
Yeah. Adam?
Hey, I'd also like to say, so the metrics I found that are very helpful, that I intentionally target all of my advertising to an SRP page with the car I care about at the top, because fraud leaves usually in 10 seconds or less, or they click something random on a page. But if I'm measuring how many of those people I sent to an SRP engage in at least one VDP. And that correlation, that ratio tells me a lot about whether I'm priced right. If I'm seeing a high drop off of people not progressing from SRP to VDP, it's typically price or selection. And if they're migrating from an SRP to a VDP, and that VDP number is going up or down, almost always, 80% of the time, my leads and my sales are reflecting that. So those are simple metrics, but they have been tried and true for me for years.
One of the things that we were constantly dealing with, and it's amazing to me, we're still talking about this after how many years in the business, right? And that is dealers merchandising, right? And how dramatic of an impact that is. I'm sure you're sitting at your desk looking at these dealer metrics and thinking, oh my gosh, we're driving all this traffic. We call it driving sheep over a cliff, right? Spend all the money on the marketing, and then you get the customer there. And to your point, you drive them to an SRP page, but then they start looking at the pictures, and all of a sudden you're like, do you guys not know how to take a photo, right?
Well, actually, I want to give a simple takeaway for everyone. If you want to peek behind the curtains of us looking back 2 years on sold customers, there is one simple key event we identified in the top 10 for every used car shopper. It's hitting the Carfax on your website. So place that as a key event in your GA4, run your digital marketing backwards to optimize to that. That is the one simple key event we found. So I just want to share that takeaway.
That's a great metric.
In merchandising, when you figure that one out, Sean, give me a call, brother. We're always working.
It's amazing. Any thoughts on that?
We constantly train on it. We've gotten a lot better. I mean, the tools that are out there, we're actually testing some of the vAuto AI tools to populate banners and things to that nature. But I'm 100% in with that. The other thing in the SRP is you can catch them at a higher level. We have seen a lot of SRP relations to the people that are buying as well. So.
I'd like to say as well, no perfect marketing can't sell overpriced cars with no pictures. Perfect marketing can't overcome that. We've tried.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so the last 3 years that I was at Leith, we increased our overall leads by 400%. I think one of the big opportunities when you're thinking about, merchandising and making a more efficient overall spend is start comparing, if you're in a dealership group, and I think most people that are here are in larger groups, start not just looking at like conversion rate, but like compare every one of your single stores against each other. So what we did is how strong are we from taking people from our homepage to the SRPs? What's our efficiency? Because every drop off as a human that's trying to shop, that's not going somewhere. And then how effective are we at creating different conversions across all of our stores? And then when you start pinpointing across all of your different stores that my call rate is really low on these 3 websites, there's a reason why. And you start providing more context, and sharing your 20 groups. How do I compare across these different metrics? And you can just start picking apart your website and creating a more efficient, better shopping process. And start, instead of, again, using some of those these informational metrics, they can become actionable because you're creating context around here's how we can create a better shopping experience and create more shoppers. And every 0.1% means more sales overall.
Yeah. Greg, any thoughts on that?
Nothing that wouldn't repeat what they just said.
Okay. I need to start with you.
I don't think they want to hear it again.
Ditto. Dave, one of the things that I think you're intrigued with is how data is being used now along with AI to enhance the customer experience. How do we make that human element of the car buying experience, how do we keep that real? Because we're already seeing where bots are shopping for bots now, but what do you think?
I mean, I think it's the personalization of the experience. Like SEO has always been, we looked at Search Console when we know that people are searching for these kind of queries and keywords, and you build content and match it. It's just basically connecting the dots. But now people are doing much more long tail, much more conversational search. And so because of AI, we can be just as people are just searching for all sorts of different things, we can also be that much better in creating more information that is more relatable and create that same one-to-one experience. It's not gone are the days where it's just people saying Ford F-150 for sale. Now they're asking all sorts of questions and they're doing follow-ups, and ChatGPT, for instance, is actually kind of purposefully prompting with follow-up questions. I think that's all about future advertising environment, right? That they're going to keep pushing that. But we have the ability with AI to create and leverage databases to create information at a scale we never had before. I know that we build tens of thousands of pages of content now to really match all the different ways people are shopping. And if you're not building content at that kind of scale, then your competitors are, or even the third parties that are your partners are going to show up ahead of you when you can be the one that's shaping the narrative and shaping the experience for the customers.
Greg, do you see a lot of dealers struggling with personalization?
Yes. Oh, sorry, Gracie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But a lot of it starts with dirty data too. That's the reason they're struggling.
Really? Well, I think I'm really curious what any of you think about this, and that is before I left the dealer world, one of the things that I started to recognize was how difficult our industry inputs data into our systems. We have multiple systems. Someone shows up on the service drive, someone shows up on the sales floor, someone shows up on an internet lead, and the information's off a little bit. It's a different email address, but how do we help dealers sort of fix that problem, or can we? Can we even fix the data?
We're being held back by our own platforms, and I want to explain this. The two simplest CD plays in history. You flew down here, you checked in your boarding pass, and beep, thank you, Mr. Fry, for being a Diamond Medallion member. Oh, a real simple CDP play to make me feel valued. I pick up my phone, I call American Express, it recognizes a device ID. Thank you, Mr. Fry, for being an American Express member since 1988. How can I help you today? Here's our situation in automotive, folks, because I agree we have the ability, we don't have the tech stack. We're being held back by our CRM tools that are 25, 30 years old. I can almost guarantee the situation of every dealer in this room, because it's just like us. Someone comes to my website to chat, they get a real simple AI solution. It drops in the CRM tool. Then I have a second AI solution that emails and texts that person to try and reestablish contact. It drops in the CRM tool, and now I'm on my third AI tool to try and get them in the showroom. Guess where it ingests all of that great data? The comments field of ADF XML leads. If it's not first name, last name, year, make, model, that's the default where it goes. Where in the world in a CRM today can I plug in my 100 million plus events and website activity to see Sean Niffen came back to shop me from 5 years ago and start his experience with, thank you, Sean, for being a valued Jeff Weiler customer for the last 5 years. We are leaps and bounds away right now with the technology at our fingertips to really leverage what we have.
Yeah, great response.
I mean, it's been, for 50 years, it's been great. I don't know why you're knocking it.
Says the salesman.
Oh, goodness. All right, so Dave Sproneke, you're ready for this question. How are AI and generative engines changing the way you help dealers look into their visibility and effectiveness across all their channels?
Yeah, I mean, I love this question, right?
Yeah, you're like
a bit about this. So this is, I mean, it has changed so significantly. Where, I mean, SEO has evolved. I mean, like GEO, generative engine optimization, is the new buzzword, and a lot of people are very excited about it. And a lot of the ways in which we're showing up in the LLMs is based on foundational SEO elements. You have to have, you have to make sure that you have content that answers questions. You need to have all your technical elements, the things that feed the machine, that help them to shape and understand the experience. But the big difference between the blue links SEO, which still drive a lot of traffic to the website, which is, you want to build content that has conversion in mind, that's a shopping experience. And I still believe that is a foundational piece of building content for the shopping. But with the LLMs, they're not necessarily going to the websites. I mean, the zero clicks are like 69% of all the searches now. I mean, Google search is up, to 5 trillion searches this year, but overall traffic is down because people are getting information faster. So we also want to be building an experience that helps feed the machine with information. And so one of the, before, again, with SEO and Search Console, they told you, here's all the queries, you build content around that. ChatGPT does not tell you what people are searching for. So you have to kind of start guessing. And then this is actually, I guess, somehow controversial, and I'm not really quite sure why it is, but the way that we look at it is, okay, what are the we have to kind of guess what are the types of things that people are searching for across the board to get some level of understanding about how visible we are in it. So, our approach, and every approach can be different, is we look at 250 different prompts that are unique to a dealership that talk about, the types of questions people might look for about across new cars, who has the best prices for Ford F-150s in this market, or what should I expect when I'm coming into this Toyota store in this market, or who should I pick between these two stores? And then what you want to start looking at now is three things. So before, again, you show up, if you're in those top spots, you get clicked, and that's great, you shape the whole narrative. But now, you do want to see how often is your dealership being named in a particular prompt response. And so again, we look at, in one, if I do a prompt and then I do the same exact prompt right after, it's going to give me different responses. So we build a composite across those 250 prompts, the average times across, every day in the month. How often are we showing up in our dealership being listed? But then, and then also how often is our website being, cited as a resource? Because, you're starting to see 5, 10, 15, 20 different websites that are helping to shape the narrative. But the most important difference is now the sentiment of that. And so we actually are starting to measure, you can show up all day, but there's a Toyota store in Boulder that said, hey, what should I expect when I'm coming to this dealership? And the response was, lawyer up, you're in for a wild ride. And so they're starting to pull, and you and I were talking about this Reddit, and like all the different online reputation management websites and directories that we used to really focus on, like DealerRater. A lot of dealers were looking at DealerRater pages. They haven't changed their DealerRater page since they were 2014 Dealer of the Year. Cars.com, Better Business Bureau. There's all this stuff that's happening out there. And so if you're not measuring and seeing what the sentiment is, this industry has a sentiment issue, right? And there's a lot of players that we have been ignoring for a while, like Yelp is a big culprit that is creating a very negative sentiment now for dealerships. And so if you're not at least starting with some level of understanding of how visible you are, how much you're shaping the narrative versus letting these other websites shape the narrative, and focusing on increasing your sentiment and building PR and humble bragging and, setting the experience up so that you're the one who is shaping the response.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Just got one thing to ask though. This is what I see as a phase 2, and I think everyone should do it. And I completely agree with everything you said. But when we scanned 18,000 dealer websites, 80% of our sites are actively blocking AI from even accessing it. And so the phase 1 is stop blocking AI. Then phase 2, let's get this thing to, let's feed the AIs what they need here. And imagine AI like that grandma that has all day long to read every Better Business Bureau review, call all of her neighbors, go on Yelp, which is back, and get everything she can possibly find about you, read all the fine print on your website, and then start browsing for a car.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to scare some folks in here, but I'm going to tell you, dealers are going to be spending millions of dollars endlessly chasing their tails on generative engine optimization. And we're already doing it, but I'm going to tell you where it's going, folks. Sentiment is the name of the day. But the problem is, if you search who's the best Chevy dealer in Cincinnati, you're going to get 3 different results because your sentiment is based on lowest price. Your sentiment is based on best reviews. Yours is lowest pain, whatever the case may be. All you have to do right now is get a room full of people, have them all search the exact same thing, and you're going to get different answers. It's going to get more and more unique over time as AI comes down. And by the way, the website is one of maybe 228 places that AI is searching. I'm going to give you an answer though. I believe if you want to win, you control what you can control. And as you beat the whole damn thing by branding your name value so strong and inexpensively at a ½ cent per impression that they never even think to type in who's the best Chevy dealer in Cincinnati. The first thing they think is to put your name.
That's a great answer. Good answer. Greg.
Thanks, Gary.
Well, yeah. Well, one thing on that, and I think, because people know your name so much now, but when you look at query data in Search Console where people would just type your name, and it's, if you're well branded like you guys, it's probably 60, 70% of your organic queries because you guys are so well known. Yeah. But now what people are saying is, what should I expect from this dealership? What does the experience look like? And so, when you're thinking generative engine optimization now, one, you you want to make sure that your review process is good and it goes across all the directories. But what are you saying on your website that helps to talk and brag, humble brag, and talk about the awards and the accolades? And what does it look like to me, when I go into the service, areas, and do we have loaner cars? I mean, as much as you can possibly say about a great experience through your content, that's what's going to be, answering when, they say your brand name, but they ask, what do I expect? What's going to look like? And so, that's why it's like PR marketing is becoming a much, much bigger piece of it now.
My other fear is that the way young people use like ChatGPT is they want it to do all the work for them. And I did this myself. I needed a trail cam for our chicken coop. You can laugh, Gary. And I'm like, I can either A, spend 2 days researching 2,000 trail cams, or B, I just typed in Google, I want, good night vision, camera, all these different things. It gave me the name of the model. I put it into Amazon and I bought it right there. I never once visited the website of that manufacturer. And my fear is that the day is coming, because we're already doing these searches. What is the best Chevy truck to pull a 7,500 pound boat in my area with the best deal? And it's literally pulling up a VDP of a specific vehicle or just giving you a year, make, model. I see a day when our website traffic is dropping because they're getting their answer in that experience.
Greg, you have a thought on that? Yeah?
No, I think Kevin's completely right. The way that the younger generation uses ChatGPT, or any competitor of, they don't want to do the work. They don't want to do the research. They, in their mind, believe that they know exactly what they want. They just want to search, have something pop up, and go.
Well, to sort of add on to what Kevin was saying, obviously Amazon Autos has hit the landscape now, right? How do you think that's going to have an impact on this? Because they're so Amazonian, the Amazonian effect is in full force, right? So how are dealers going to react to that? Because Amazon has a very high customer standards. They want everything to be specific and accurate and clean and concise, which fits right well into our shopping the customer experience. What would you tell a dealer that's asking you, saying, hey, I'm thinking about, I've been approached on this Amazon thing. What do you think? What would you tell them?
I would tell them it's something they need to explore. I mean, generationally, the shopping experience is different. The older generation, or even my generation, we still want the physical part of the buying experience, test driving a vehicle. Tesla took the digital retailing delivery, no test drive, and gained a decent amount of market share. COVID probably helped out quite a bit with that, with contactless shopping. So Amazon's definitely going to be impactful. Obviously, it's a nationwide card buying experience. It doesn't matter where you are, you can buy. So, but I also believe the younger generation will cater to that, and the automotive industry is going to have to start going in that direction, unfortunately. So, but again, I still think it's your younger generation. I don't think my generation buys cars that way, or even the older generation, but we need to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
I think what you guys got to realize too is you're not even going to be dealing with the younger generation. You'll be dealing with their AI agent who will be talking to your AI agent to negotiate the car deal. And hopefully we come out okay.
Bots, shopping with bots, right? It's a real thing.
And I don't want anybody to think that when I say they'll bypass our website, they're still going to come to the dealership. And we've been big innovators with Cox Automotive. We sold the first 8 new cars truly 100% online. None of this Carvana BS where they call you back tomorrow and finish the deal. And every single one still takes a physical delivery. And they want to do it at the dealership 90% of the time.
Yeah. We mentioned, we're talking about data, but then we've transitioned into customer sentiment, right? So how do we put a number, an AI generator, or not AI, but just a data number on customer sentiment? Because we've lived with GBP now for how long, right? 5 stars, 4 stars. And once you get up to a couple thousand reviews, it's really hard to move that number. I mean, it takes 1,000 positive reviews to raise it 1/10 of a point. Do you think that there's going to be an emerging data point that really measures customer sentiment besides what they're reading in Reddit or DealerRater, anything like that? That's a stumper, isn't it?
I'll give that to the data pros.
I always look, for me, retention is my guy at a place.
Yeah.
You know, I have a sales guy who gets first dibs every time I want to buy a car in any market, or I need to take a friend to buy a car, which we all get dragged into doing, because I know when it all goes wrong, my guy will handle it. And I know that's very old school with all of the other things, but that now that we, as an established person who helps people buy a car every month, like that is, I have my guys.
Yeah.
That is a really good answer. I mean that sincerely, because every Fortune 500 in the CDP, you have to ask yourself, why do you do it? It's about customer retention. So I think you're spot on. That's really good.
I think, yeah, great job on that one.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, following that up, but I do think there's...
Round of applause for Adam, man.
You have something to say about me?
You know, online reputation management is another big thing again right now. And so here's our approach for how we're looking at sentiment, because it is such an important piece. Is again, we're talking about, you know, looking at, I mean, we're guessing at prompts based on, you know, how Google search queries and just extrapolating. But if we start looking at everything mathematical, just like I was saying about, you know, like comparing our dealerships back in the Leaf days and comparing our dealerships across our dealership network now, we like to look at, okay, in this market for these 250 prompts and multiply that by daily, you know, the tens of thousands of prompt responses, what are the websites that are driving the most citations? And then how do we look on those? You know, what's our rating on those? And then how do we compare with our 5 nearest competitors? And then so you can start getting a good understanding of the market of these are the different websites that are causing the most influence, that are shaping the narrative of these responses the most. And so we're going to just start attacking these in order of importance and just go volume. And the more that we can, again, shape our own narrative by making sure our content reflects the experience. And so the types of answers they're getting from these websites, if we can be injecting that in our content, the more we shape the narrative, the better. But let's prioritize based on, you know, the websites that are causing the most damage, which right now it's Reddit, it's Yelp, it's Better Business Bureau for a lot of dealerships. That's where the most, and then it's the forgotten sites that people have not looked at in years. DealerRater is showing up and being cited all the time. So when you have understanding of who is the one that's influencing the market and the sentiment, and just start attacking that in order of importance. And that's how you can start it. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight. And dealers, there's a lot of them with very negative sentiment right now. And I think a lot of them don't have any idea how negative it is. But it's because years and years of neglecting or ignoring some of these areas that are now what the AI is using to give its opinion in the search.
It sounds almost like we need to get back to taking care of our customer again.
Yeah.
Right? Amazing, right? Sort of like merchandising, right?
Yeah.
Back to basics.
Back to the basics. Like
You say that, but at our big executive meeting, they were talking about the whole generative engine optimization thing. I said, well, the real way to win is you just got to be the best. And they don't want to hear that. Well, there's got to be a way to game the system, right? And
Well, I think we all forget that, but you know, we were so frustrated with Google SEO for so long years ago, and I just finally had this epiphany. What is Google trying to accomplish? What is AI trying to accomplish? They're trying to match, Google is trying to match the best answer to the question. If you're the best answer to the question, it will overlook optimization flaws. AI is the same way. They're trying to find the dealership that they're going to go to, and they're going to finish the experience going, thank goodness, ChatGPT sent me there. That place rocked. I'm going to use them for my next search, for my next problem.
Yeah. One of the things that we were able to identify in all of our data, and I challenge any dealer out there today to sort of come up with this, is tell me who your top 10 customers are in your store. Ask any general manager, say, tell me, who are the top 10 customers? Most GMs will not be able to tell you that. Most dealer principals probably couldn't tell you that, right? So it really brings us back to this, what we're talking about is, can the data tell us who our best customers are? Can the AI assimilate all that data and say, based on input from the CRM and the notes in line, how many vehicles they purchased? But what is your thoughts? I'll start with you, Greg. What is your thought on dealers trying to figure out what the customer value proposition is now? Because everyone's still trying to boil the ocean, but we still have all these hundreds of thousands of customers in these databases that want to do business with the group, not just the store, but the group, right? How do we get dealers to sort of take notice of the fact, like, you have 10 customers, and do you know why they're your top 10 customers? What would you tell them?
obviously customer lifetime value. So not only a repeat customer, but a customer who also services with you, buys cars for the family, or as Adam stated, brings your friends to the dealer. Obviously, those are going to be your highest value or top 10 customers. If you're looking for very specific data points, that's where you're going to go. But that all comes back to customer experience and what we've been talking about for the last 10 minutes. If you handle every customer the same way, you're going to start mimicking those results, and those 10 become 50, those 50 become 100, so on and so forth.
Dave?
Oh, I just like to wave at 2 of my top 10 customers right here.
Yeah. Well, I think we look at this a little differently. We got these top performing salesmen. Surely they have an understanding of who the top customers are. And then, I mean, it's an old adage, but there's a couple people in town that everyone goes to get answers for everything, or to figure out, who know everybody. And who are those? I agree. Who are those people, and why aren't we asking that question more often?
Yeah.
This is the first exercise we did with our CDP, because I keep going back to, why does the Fortune 500 do it? They want to improve customer retention. The primary way they do that is to make you feel valued and special as a customer. So I'm thinking, hey, if I give each store their top 10 people, they can, we're one of the owners of Cincinnati Reds, take them to the Reds Suite or have a cocktail night, whatever the case may be. So then well, how do we define that? Well, it's got to be the top revenue customers. First run, I've got all these commercial vehicle people in there that are taking a Section 179. Well, that doesn't seem to be the right way to do it. And we probably went through 10 or 12 rounds just to try to identify our top people. So this lifetime value thing, I think, is much more complex than we think. And one of the things we're looking to do right now is work with one of the agencies that works with the Fortune 500s, works with Kroger, grocery stores, at how they define lifetime value and loyalty, which might not be just how much money they spend, but some of the things, Greg's, like you were talking about, how often they're coming back. So I don't know the answer yet, but man, we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah. One of the things that I think, we use CRM a lot of times for marketing, and I'm not real sure CRM is the right place for marketing, right? When we composed all that data, brought it all together, 40% of it wasn't even usable data, right? But when it comes to reaching the customer, okay, and you have this customer lifetime value, along the way, someone's going to have to come to the realization that they're going to have to probably look into their data and go, okay, not only do we know who they are, but how do we talk to them? Do we over communicate to them? Do you guys see that a lot in your dealers too, where like service is sending a message from this vendor and sales is sending a message from these 3 or 4 vendors, and then there's the infamous email blast where it says just send it to everybody. Doesn't matter if they bought a car yesterday or last year or whatever it is, right? Do you see that problem continuing, or can AI actually help clean that mess up? Anybody? Okay.
Well, that was the whole idea behind the CDP. Was so that you knew who you were marketing to, when you were marketing to them, how you were marketing to them, so that you stopped over communicating or sending bad messages or marketing to someone who's already in your database in a conquest effort. So as long as your data is clean, and I will emphasize that at every step of the way, as long as your data is clean in a centralized area, yes, AI will highly improve. It'll allow you to cut through that data. It'll allow you to understand, buying cycles or trade patterns of your customers. It'll let you understand, who's coming into service, what type of service. Do they only come in for lube, oil, and filter, or tire, general repair, major repair, collision, however you want to define it. So I think AI will allow you to sift through that data in a much more substantial way to better your reporting, as you stated earlier. And I think it'll also tell you how your customer best responds through what medium and what channels.
That's great. Dave?
I think one of the things that I think really is important, because it's so much easier now to send, tons of emails and all these phone calls, is like reputation risk is a real thing right now. I mean, I know that I personally get, 400 or 500 emails a day, and there's a ton of spam. And, I've got a great assistant who actually is in there and spending so much time, and she just hits spam, report spam, and block the email address. And so, we've even, I was the president of the entrepreneur organization in Raleigh a few years ago, and someone came in and said, hey, we'll send a bunch of emails out on your behalf, for you for free. We just want to have our name mentioned. And I said, no, because if you're blasting a market and you're not creating personalization and it doesn't matter, then it's going to actually hurt our image and our reputation more than it helps. And so, just because things are easier and you can do things at volume, I think right now it's more important than ever that what your message is matches who that customer is, what their needs are, and personalization is top of mind.
Great.
Marketing 101, right message, right time, right place. We can't do it right now. And let me explain. The CRM of today just pulls DMS data. When we went through this exercise, that data was only 55% accurate for us. So you're putting 55 octane gas into your marketing. You're missing the most important thing, which is your website activity. The right time is when you come back 3.5 years and hit the website, and the right message is knowing what you're looking at on the website to give that to you. But the other key thing we're missing right now is we don't have the ability to ingest return signals. And I'm going to give you the simplest example in history. My wife still gets direct mail coupons from Kroger. My daughter never gets those. She only gets email coupons. Because in the initial blast, when my wife went to the store and scanned that coupon, that ingested back in their CDP and says she responds to direct mail. My daughter never did. She did it off her phone. And so now she only gets email. She only gets direct mail. You save a fortune and you did the message at the right place. Does that make sense? That's right now we're just looking marketing actionable platforms to layer in these CDPs. But I keep pressing the CRM's holding us back in its current state.
Yeah.
And am I making everybody cranky this morning?
I think that's really important. I had a client, he hired me, he pays me, we had a weekly meeting, I couldn't reach him for important things. I found him on LinkedIn, he responded instantly. Not his cell phone, not the dealership, but that is the way I could reach him every single time, and he was happy to message back, and we handled what needed to be handled. That's the medium. At a minimum, we should have primary ways to be contacted, and a lot of times it's going to be texting.
Yeah, and if we do that, we're on the hook, aren't we? We must follow that process, that procedure, if you will. I'll leave this one, I'll let Greg close this one out, but what do you think dealers, when it comes to data, you were sort of hinting on this, but as the last question of this session, where would dealers start? Meaning that I hear, we do a lot of mystery shops for dealers. And sometimes I have a dealer operator who says, if I ever want to be in a bad mood, I just go listen to my phone calls. And I think it starts there, don't you? Is look at yourself now and then recognize where you want to go. You thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. But it mainly comes down to what Kevin's saying. So whether it's DMS or CRM, they're antiquated to today's technology. Mm-hmm. I own a data company. I would say one of our largest products is data hygiene. If I take the average dealer DMS or CRM file, 45% of it's bad.
Yeah.
But I have no way to push it back into the CRM or DMS without creating duplicative records. Or without an absolute nightmare, depending on who the DMS provider is. So the whole push to a CDP was to put a centralized area where you could do all of those things. Mm-hmm. There's some great CDPs out there. There's some horrible CDPs out there. Won't mention any names or anything like that. But it starts with the cleanliness of the data itself. And without that, you have wasted marketing efforts. You have bounced emails that then hurt email reputation. Then you end up in the spam box versus the inbox. So for me, obviously, I'm always going to start with the data because that's where the improvement has to begin.
That's great. Awesome answer. Well, guys, thank you very much. Great questions, great answers, just great conversation. I really appreciate you all. So
thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Where's Charlie?
Right here.
Oh my gosh.
Was right there the whole time. So thanks, Neff. That was awesome. All you guys, really good. And we're going to get Neff and Kevin back up here during the fireside chat afterwards. But for now, we've got some, you can stretch if you want to. We're on schedule to begin the next panel. If anyone wants to just take just a moment or two.
Thank you to Sean and Reunion Marketing for that sharp look at data-driven marketing. More live coverage from DealerConnect 2025 up next.
Talk about
Dealership service teams are leaving thousands on the table. Why? Because they're flying blind. Service advisors don't know their close rates. Managers don't see the coaching gaps. Motivation fades, revenue stalls. Introducing Rocket Booster, the next evolution of performance management and training for dealerships. See real-time close rates by product.
Welcome back. Safeguarding your dealership against fraud in today's AI-driven world. Sponsored by 700 Credit and moderated by Charlie Volgenheim, leads a critical conversation on dealership security as AI accelerates digital retailing. It's also introduced new risk, learn practical steps to protect your customers, your staff, and your bottom line.
perhaps of that, but let's go ahead and go right on down. I'll start right with you, Bob.
Bob Lettis, 700 Credit. I'm the Senior VP of Partnerships and Business Development. I've been in the credit and compliance side of the business for about 22 years now.
And Bob, let's talk about 700 Credit for just a minute. Go ahead and give a background. And
a little bit about 700 Credit for those of you who don't know. We're the leading credit reseller out there. We do the credit reports, compliance, soft pull products, identity fraud products, things like that. We've got about 22,000 dealers, and we've got over 250 integration partnerships. So just about everybody in this room is integrated. All the CRMs, the DMSs, digital retailing, they're all utilizing our products in the back to help power their platforms.
Thank you. Jim?
Great. Hey, Jim Maxfield. I'm with Gather. We've got the fancy Gather Clear kiosk there in the lobby. I've been active in the automotive retail marketing space, digital stuff, technologist kind of for 30 years now. Prior to that, my dad was actually a franchise car dealer, a Chrysler, AMC, Jeep, Eagle, Renault dealer.
AMC,
in the 60s and 70s, and there are pictures of me in a red and blue tights jumping out gremlins. So I guess I've been in the business for 53 years in some fashion. But we're about basically helping dealers get the fraud out of the dealership, just get all that administrative paperwork stuff that people go through, just make that disappear so you can focus on selling the car.
Yeah, and the Gather device, again, was on display at the golf event and has been in the lobby here, and it looks like the self-taking picture device. But and remind everyone how long Gather's been around.
So we started development about 3 years ago. Okay. We actually went live with our non-beta Gather Clear kiosk about 2 months ago.
Yeah, and we'll get into that just a little bit. Let's go ahead and we'll do it in the order that you're sitting, James.
Hi there. I'm Jim McGuire. I'm with Experian Automotive. I've also been in the industry a bit, and it was basically the beginning of that last revolution. So 30 years ago, I got involved when the internet was new, right? So I launched DealerConnect while I was at ADP, which became Autotrader.com, and I've been in the business ever since.
Yeah, great. And then again, Experian, not familiar with, no, yeah, I think I've heard of it. I need to get my credit number up a little bit, so I might talk to 700 Credit to talk to you. So Mike, interesting business that you're involved in.
Yep, I'm a little bit of the outlier, but Mike Carter, Global Head of Compliance at Arkham Intelligence, which is a blockchain company. I have worked in high-risk tech for the better part of 10 years. So I'm a little bit of the outlier in that I, not done as much auto work as probably anybody else in this room. Notably, I did work on the Volkswagen Department of Justice monitorship team, so familiar with a lot of the OEM risks that you're seeing on the backside, and familiar with a lot of the identity fraud, other risks that we'll talk about on the front side today.
Yeah, and then your company is pronounced
Arkham.
And where's it based, or does it matter?
So we're based out of New York City.
Okay, and you're also doing some stuff with crypto?
Yeah, so we've also got crypto markets on the side. So when I say high risk businesses, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And I've actually been the compliance and risk officer for a few crypto companies.
Wow. Okay. Well, again, we can get into that. So before we get started, Jim, you put together some slides. Connor, you've got a couple of those. We're just going to talk a little bit about some of the fraud, actual factual. So if you can walk us through it, but these are for all of us to comment on. So, well, you can't see them, so.
And these are brand new, right? So this survey actually was just completed and analyzed last week. So you were the first people on the planet outside of my company to see a couple of these results. And I was just looking for some basic information to help inform the conversation. So for the folks in the back, I'll just say next. Okay. All right, so the question is, and these are dealers who answered, who's in charge of looking at fraud at your dealership? Dealers, yeah. Who's in charge? Sorry, I'm looking at it here because I can't see down the screen. The answer is, hey, head of F&I. That's a good answer, right? But head of fraud or risk management, thank goodness, folks are stepping up. Folks are staffing up, and hopefully folks are tooling up as well. So really interesting to see this across the board. But of course, everyone knows where the buck stops when there's an issue at a dealership, right? It's the people in charge. But good to have people who are focused on it. Next. All right, and then, hey, is fraud on the rise? Yes, it is. 70% of dealers are saying it's on the rise. 11% say it's in decline. I want to talk to these people and understand why. Maybe it's because you're doing a really great job of addressing it. That's my assumption, because it doesn't seem to be that way from a fraud trend perspective across the industry. Next. Okay, when we talk about fraud, it can mean a lot of different things, right? And so we've broken it into three categories. One's income fraud, one is vehicle-related fraud, and one is identity-related fraud. So if you're a dealer, if you're a lender, you have to be sort of part detective, part mechanic, and part psychic to try to figure out what sort of fraud you're dealing with and addressing. So when we asked which of these types of fraud are the most challenge for you at your dealership, what are you dealing with, what are you addressing? Next. These are the answers from dealers. And it was really kind of surprising. So I apologize. I would love to have your comments on this. I know it's kind of hard to see. But the top of the list here, forged income and income fabrication. That was a surprise to us, frankly, that was at the top of the list from a dealer's perspective. Everything we're reading about, of course, comes next. Synthetic identity, third-party fraud. Straw borrower is pretty high in the list. When we did a similar survey with lenders, they had it at the bottom of the list. But dealers know this is an issue because you are, as you said, Charlie, where the rubber meets the road. And then first-party identity fraud coming next, right? So vehicle fraud's in there, but really surprising to me and to some of us that income was at the top. So the context for all this, and just next, what we did was we actually took some empirical data on fraud statistics that we see happening in the marketplace, looking at every single automotive trade from 22, 23 to see how it turned out. Next. So there's two categories. One is actual charged off losses as reported by lenders. And we looked at this at the national level. And because I was coming here, I looked at it at Florida and at Jacksonville. So we saw about $4 billion actually charged off from 22, 23, we split that in half to make it annualized. So on an annual basis, about $4 billion. When we score all those same trade lines, we're looking about twice that. So these are these are loans that are still on the books where we see signs of fraud through fraud scoring. And so about twice that across all those geographies. And this, by the way, is just first party and synthetic identity fraud. And that's by virtue of the fact that it's a very discrete thing for us to be able to categorize across every transaction. Then we know, as I just mentioned, there's a bunch of different kinds of fraud. So the trend is there.
And Jim, one of the things I find very interesting about that, so if I walked into a dealership, by your chart of who does this, looking like I look now, it seems like it gets to the F&I side of the world before the fraud really becomes taken care of, right? Now imagine everyone, the classic alien with the big eyes and the thin neck and all that, dressed just like me. If that person walked in the dealership, do you think your dealer would want to wait until he got to F&I to determine he's an alien and not someone they can sell a car to? As we look at fraud, a lot of stuff that we talk about is not, is our system better than someone else's, but we're in the process Do you want to know you're dealing with a fraudster? Do you want to know it as soon as they walk in the door, after the sales guys decided he could sell them a car, now he has to go and do that? And part of what we're finding with the Gather Clear kiosk is that's kind of like a rally point as soon as you walk into the dealership where people want to go and engage because they don't want to hand the driver's license over to someone they just met. At the same time, if you're a fraudster, that's the last thing you want to do is get plugged into something that's bouncing against Homeland Security to see if you are who you say they are. So it's kind of interesting as we look at your data side versus kind of the process side as we look at it at Gather.
And from a compliance and risk perspective, what you're describing is commonly called the first line of defense, right? And so it's really tough if you're a dealer, and we're talking on the face-to-face part of sales now, where, I mean, what do you want your salesmen to do? Do you want them to be fraud detectors, or do you want them to sell cars? Well, you want them to sell cars, right? But there is a bit of training and process and technology that goes into that first line of defense, and to your point, along the process, detecting that as early as possible. When we start talking about synthetic identity fraud and online non-face-to-face sales, that becomes a little bit different world, a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, it's 700 credit. We've been preaching for the last 10 years, credit first. And a lot of the processes have all been designed around credit first. And now the last couple of years, we've been talking about fraud first. Even before we do credit first, we want to get fraud up there because of so much the in-store, online fraud, off-site deliveries, things like that. It's so important now to find those fraudsters at the beginning of the process rather than wait to the middle or the end of the process on there. And we've really embraced that fraud first motto in our policies.
Well, you know, it's interesting, and again, I appreciate, Jim, thanks for putting those slides together, and we also had a list of you know, fraud points throughout, and that was one of your slides, and so just to clarify, first of all, everyone can get a copy of the slides that's attended here? Okay, and then secondly, the list of the fraud points, was that by survey or was that by actual?
That was by survey. That was by dealer survey specifically.
So that's their opinion of what it is, or?
Oh, good point. So your question is, of the different fraud points that people rated, did we suggest them, or did they come organically? We did suggest them. We did have the list, and we had definitions of what they meant, just to try to get a normalization of everyone's feedback.
Okay, and then one of my first questions, and appreciate it, Bob, you already kind of answered it, was with all these different frauds, and we'll have time to talk about a number of them, you know, where do you start? And you're saying, you know, again, you're starting with the credit to begin with. And I certainly appreciate what you're saying, Jim, about the person, but that happens when they're at the dealership. I'll go back to you with because sometimes the person isn't in the dealership where that discovery has to happen.
Absolutely. You know, we all know that the majority of the process starts online, all right? 95, 98% of it, everything is starting online. And especially with AI technologies now, you're going to be dealing with a lot of, you want to make sure, is it a bot? Is it a synthetic ID? Is this a real person? You don't want to start those chat conversations, go halfway down the funnel with somebody that's not a real person, you know, on there. So online fraud is a big thing. Getting them into the store is a big thing, you know, so fraud's happening in many points at a store, not just one area. And that's why as a store, you've got to protect yourself in multiple areas and, you know, and have automated processes. Makes it easy for the dealership. As you said, we're here to sell cars, but we've also got to protect ourselves from the start to the finish in the entire process.
You know, keep going.
Yeah, and one of the things I was going to mention, you know, with the stats that Jim put up there, is that number one and number two were identity fraud and personal fraud and things like that. And number three on there was synthetic fraud, okay? And if you were to go back a year ago, I would bet you 90% of the dealers didn't even know what synthetic fraud was. So the dealers are used to number one and number two that was on Jim's list. That's what they're used to right now, because that's what they see in a day in, day out basis, what they've seen for the last 40 years. The piece of fraud that should scare them the most and where the dealers should really learn about is synthetic fraud. And most people don't realize if you were to take all the industries in the US, which there's a lot of different industry categories, synthetic fraud is about a third of the synthetic fraud is happening in automotive. Just think of that stat right there. And it shows you again where automotive is, how far we're behind to the banking industries, credit card industries, big box retailers, things like that. We're so far behind when it comes to this synthetic fraud. And that's an area that's going to be growing. And that's an area that the dealers really got to watch out for. Just last year alone, I think Jim had some other stats that synthetic fraud doubled from last year, and it's in the billions. All right, this is not something that's small.
Yeah, let's do that. Good question. So
I've got a great example of that. I've got 3 driver's licenses here. One's from Maryland, one's from Arizona, one's from Connecticut. The commonality of these licenses is they all scan at bars. They are all over 21 years old, and they are all owned by my daughter's friends who have now turned 21 and have given me their fake driver's license. And they're all completely compliant with the AAMBA databases you search against and things like that. And this is a start of synthetic fraud. And in many cases, it happens when a bartender will take a picture of a driver's license of someone who's 22 or 23. They sell that data on the dark web about $300. Folks in China that produce these things, and they have the holograms in the corners, and the barcodes are accurate. And underage people go online, they spend $30, and they get a driver's license with their name on it. And Jack Stokes' driver's license says Matthew Gennaro on it from Maryland, and they use them. And once you get a license, that allows you to do things like get a cell phone. Once you get a cell phone, starts out a prepaid cell phone, then you get some credit on a cell phone, you get a prepaid credit card. It takes about 16 months to build this profile. You go and get a super cheap motor home at the edge of town, mobile home that you live in. And now 18 months later, you're established with a credit, established with an address, established with a rent, but you're a completely fake person. And then they go out and they start buying cars like crazy.
Now I'm gonna just ask for clarification between fake ID and synthetic, because I think that's even deeper, where there isn't even an ID, or it's like blended IDs and stuff. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, what they're doing, and I know Jim, you want to jump in as well, but what they're doing is they're taking that, they're stealing a single identity, all right? And let me just jump back first. A lot of the fraud that we've been dealing with in the past has been like usually a single person. Okay, where synthetic fraud is not a single person. These are large crime organizations. Most of the time they're overseas. They're spending millions and millions of dollars to do what they're doing. They're taking the single identity that they steal, and as Jim was saying, they create multiple identities from that, but it goes deeper than creating multiple identities. They're actually taking these identities and creating real credit profiles with the credit bureaus, okay? So these new identities that they're creating from the first person they stole from actually have good credit profiles. Those credit profiles, they're usually taking about 2 years where they'll buy things, as Jim was saying. They'll go out and buy. So now these credit scores, they're coming up with great credit scores, and what they do is they wait for what they call a bust out. And they don't go in and take one car. They'll take 20 cars, or they'll go in for high price cars, all right, because I've got an 800 credit score, because I've established that over a 2-year period. So now what we're going to go in, I'm going to go buy RVs, I'm going to go buy high price cars, and the bust out happens immediately, and they do it all in one day. All right, and once that bust out occurs, those cars, those RVs, whatever it might be, they're on a boat somewhere, or they're in a chop shop. All right, and it's very hard to catch these people because the majority of them are overseas. So it's a very intricate model that these fraudsters are creating, and it's something that we've got to be prepared for, especially groups. All right, they're looking at these large groups, so it's something we really need to know about.
Let me give you an example. In Automotive News, read a big article about a human came in to buy an Escalade with an approved Chase loan, a driver's license that had cleared the dealership, an insurance card that looked good, ready to deliver. They ran through Gather, and she failed the driver's license and the insurance card. They called the consumer, and she had a better deal, and she just vanished. A couple of days later, human came into a different store with a Tier 1 BMW loan approval to buy an X4, right? A driver's license, insurance card, went through our system, failed both of those. However, the biometrics of the human was the same human that's trying to buy the Escalade. All right. And by tying that modality together, that got the police involved. They showed up, arrested her. And because of the way our process works, without going into that detail, they then raided the warehouse where she took the pictures of herself and her driver's license. As Bob has mentioned, there's another human there with another stack of papers ready to go buy another car. And when the human came to our dealership to buy the BMW, her story was spot on perfect. She had scrubs on because she was a surgeon, which is why she was late to the dealership. She had a hospital ID that matched her driver's license and stuff like that. Right. So this is getting more and more professional as this whole process continues.
Jim McGuire, I'd like to hear Experian talk about it a little bit, add to it.
Well,
so let's focus just on the synthetic. Gather, you guys have a great, that's where, again, in the dealership, but let's stay out of the dealership for just a moment in terms of the web contact and everything that, in terms of the initial, and I'm curious, in related to the last panel that's talking about AI, and we're talking about the next generation, perhaps their bots or their, agentic connection. We want to make connectivity with a potential customer, but we got to make sure it's a real customer. So
to that point, while we're making it much more efficient and effective and by pushing things online, it also makes it easier for bots, negative bots with nefarious goals to try to penetrate. And so you need to have not just the ability to look for these issues in person or even online for identity checking, but also checking the identity of whoever is trying to penetrate your system. And so, we are in the process of working with the industry to come up with an approach to validate that this agent rather, that is coming to your website, which, as we talked about in the earlier panel, is going to be more and more common, that this is a valid AI agent, that it has the credentials to do what it says it should be doing, and it's authorized to do it on the person's behalf.
Yeah, Mike?
And to those points, again, I work more in financial services than anything else. The financial services and your banking and finance partners are having these same challenges. And so it's enabling, and it's not just AI, machine learning has been around long enough. And some of these tools are sophisticated-ish to be able to catch some of this, but it's everything from biometric face matching across pools of data, not just, hey, does this person's face match their ID? It's, does this person's face on the ID and their selfie actually match other folks in the database? It's device ID collection. It's tracking VPN and IP sources and again, we talk about high risk parts of the world where this is occurring. I'll just say it occurs in China, Ukraine, Russia. Those are always the Nigeria. Those are always the suspects 90% of the time. And so
that's where all the princes are.
Yeah.
I think a point for the dealers to kind of ingest here is it's not just when you walk in the door that you should be doing this. There are places online where someone wants a price quote or what's the best internet quote, and they're moving down that funnel. That there's a way to what we call the button where you can integrate the button. So it says, hey, let's find out who you are and get your paperwork going in advance. All right. And whether you're at the GatherClear kiosk or using the GatherClear software online, it's the exact same process. And so there are ways to get this stuff done well in advance of someone coming into the store. Because we believe the best way to keep your strawberries from not being eaten by the buzzards is have the buzzards go to someone else's field to eat them. Yeah. And that's why you put scarecrows in your farms. And the GatherClear kiosk and the GatherClear process online is the scarecrow because the fraudsters don't want to engage with something that's tied into Homeland Security.
Yeah. The last thing I'll add to that is we have a little bit of a saying in financial services is that customers are liars, right? Even if they don't mean to, they are probably going to lie to you just by inputting bad data, right? Or the wrong form or the wrong type of format of a form. Or sometimes they're actually just lying to you. And so anytime in that process that you described where you can actually retrieve key data, key documents from the source, not from the customer, it's going to cut down on that fraud tenfold.
Well, and going to that, I need to call you Maxfield because we got two gyms right next to each other. So
Perfect.
We talked
Especially
about
when I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? Go ahead.
But so, we've got ID and then we've got the added information you guys provide on whether their insurance is valid or not.
Well, I mean, this is an AI conference, right? And I think as we get more and more mature, we spend a lot of time talking about driver's license and how we do that. But that's just one modality that we have out there, right? There's an insurance modality, there's a credit modality, and the more of those you put together, and we have some AI decision making that we have right now, the more of those you put together, right? The harder it is for a fraudster to have the structure be consistent across all the different places that you're going. And as soon as you have inconsistencies is when the AI says, hey, there's a problem that gets kicked out for manual review on our side. So, it's not dissimilar to what people are doing right now with online marketing and their CDPs and stuff like that. We're just doing it from the vendor side. I'm sure his company is, and all the other companies are approaching this in some fashion.
Yeah, and I want to go back to that word synthetic, and maybe, it doesn't matter as much as, whether we use the word fake or use the word synthetics. Fake, to me, and not fake ID is something you can hold. A synthetic person is something that's just, in the Ethernet that does exist. And taking it to the next level, the other aspect is fake credit reports. I mean, you've got, you could have a real person with a real ID, but their credit information is completely false.
So that is the synthetic ID scenario, right? So I've created sometimes I call it a Frankenstein identity, where I take this address, this name, this social security number, put them together, and then I do go and conduct transactions. And as you were saying, I might get a car and I might pay it for a period of time in order to build up my credit profile so I can go and go bust out. And so we see that happening, and it's harder to track down than might seem logical, because there's not necessarily another person whose real name or identity is being affected. So there's no one calling in saying, hey, that's not my trade, because it was literally a manufactured person. So of course we're digging in to do the best we can at addressing these circumstances. But man, we are all fighting at the speed of fraudsters, right? They are using all the tools we're talking about at this AI conference to go push their business forward. And you were talking about, Bob, the level of sophistication that's here comes from the size and scope of some of these organizations that are putting it together. So there's big nefarious things that are going on in the world. On the other hand, as a consumer, you can go online and basically sign up for fraud as a service, where you want a fake ID, you want some good trade lines on your report. There are services that will do this, and they're using those same AI tools. So we have to all be working together to fight the fight.
Then on top of that, how many dealers spend Saturday mornings educating their salespeople on how to spot a fraudster, a fake ID, and things like that? Yeah, every dealer, if you ask them, how many minutes do you want a fraudster to be on your lot? Their answer is 0, right? Oh. So, there's that piece involved as well.
The other aspect of this, also from a business standpoint, hiring somebody. They've created their own fake work history, things like that. Anybody want to touch on that? Or?
Yeah, I'll touch on that a little bit. And this also ties into the customer piece. But again, it's getting increasingly more difficult to vet people due to all these synthetic ID, and there's just a lot of bad information out there. And it's easier, as we discussed, to create basically a new persona. It is interesting, though, there's some concepts from anti-money laundering regulations, one of them being adverse information searches, right? And so sometimes, it might make sense from an employee standpoint to go out there and, hey, run their name, run their information, actually check out, and, it sounds a little stupid and trite, but check out their LinkedIn. See if there's any public information about, their arrest records or anything like that. And two things might happen, right? One, you will find bad stuff about them and you can make a decision on whether or not to hire them. The other one that's potentially more interesting is you find nothing about them. And that's also potentially a red flag as well.
Yeah.
I'd like to take it a little bit a different angle on that as well. One of the things that's happening with employees, if you were to go back 10, 15 years ago, we used to have credit bureaus lying all over the floor. All right, they were in drawers, and we've cleaned that up now. But the same thing is happening with the paper deal jacket. We have a safeguards ruling law out there, and yet over 40% of the dealers are not safeguard compliant. We're supposed to be going paperless. And here's what's happening. The panel that was on previous was talking about data and how we've got AI out there and we're collecting better data and more accurate data and clean data, okay? Well, geez, I go to dealerships all the time and I see boxes and boxes and boxes stacked, okay, with paper deal jackets that have more and more information in there. And we've had many times where we've had dealers call us where they've had theft, and the theft wasn't the automobile. The theft was somebody broke in and stole all the paper deal jacket files and all the boxes. That's worth more to the criminals than the automobile. All right. And unfortunately, it comes from employees sometimes. You're never going to always have the best employees. All it takes is one. One bad seed can do it, and we're leaving ourselves open. And I kind of liken it to an example like if you were a bank and you built a bank and you went out and advertised and you got millions of dollars and customers came and they put their money in this beautiful bank that you built with a beautiful vault. And at the end of the day, what do? You leave the bank and you leave the door open? Who would do that? But we're doing that every day at the car dealership. All right. We talk about CDPs. We talk about clean data. We talk about getting more data, but nobody at any of these trade shows talks about protecting the data. All right. And protecting it from people coming online, trying to hack in, or people, your own employees, because you've got it just sitting there in boxes. All right.
And informationally, it's getting more of a regulatory emphasis. So there's the Grandbladed Leach Act, which is the national FTC Data Protection Act. But I think we're at about 12 or 13 states now with their own specific data privacy laws. I think the most, we'll just call it severe, is the California DPA. And so, not to get off on a tangent, do we think that's being enforced anytime soon under current administration? Not to get into politics? Probably not, right? But it could and might at some point. Plus, there's a civil liability. So
yeah, and I think what will happen is this, just like with credit reports, it was something we could touch and feel. All right, when we made the dealers aware that these credit reports were valuable pieces of information and they shouldn't be on the floor, they shouldn't be in garbage cans, they shouldn't be in desk drawers or boxes, the dealers cleaned it up. And what 700 Credit tries to do is, we educate, and I believe this is something that with the paper deal jackets getting into the proper electronic functions and getting them into the DMSs electronically, this will happen. It'll take us a couple of years, but we'll continue, on this path, and it will happen because it's definitely something the dealers can see, touch, and feel. And once they're made aware of that they're leaving the vault open, it will change and we'll clean it up pretty quick.
I would certainly argue it's actually happening today, that today someone can walk into the kiosk, phone number, bioscan, and we can load into the CRM now, front and back driver's license, what their current insurance status is, OFAC, red flag reports very soon, the proof of income and paychecks and stuff like that. So, all that paperwork, we gather that stuff digitally. Of course, that's where our name comes from, and loads that into the system so it's not on the desk. Because we've all seen the spy movies where the guy walks in and surreptitiously grabs something and puts it in his pocket. Fraudsters walk into dealerships with their briefcase and, hey, I need some more coffee. And the sales guy rushes to get some coffee and he loads 3 deal jackets into his briefcase. All right. Oh. So this stuff is happening every place, and leaders just have to be vigilant about what they're doing and how they expose themselves.
And one super tactical thing for the folks here, for the dealers here, the systems that you folks are bringing to the market and a bunch of best of breed solutions that you can talk to people in the audience about, they are capturing that information securely. And when we talk to dealers and understand their systems, a lot of them aren't necessarily using those best of breed tools, and as a result, they're saying, hey, I'm not photocopying that driver's license anymore. My salesperson takes a picture of it with a camera and then they upload it to the system electronically. Man, you do not want those on that salesperson's camera. This is a problem. So make sure you're using a best of breed system that keeps that data secure and regardless of which input device is being used.
So it's very interesting. We did a survey at a new launch, and we asked the customers, hey, would you rather give me the driver's license so I can make a copy, or would you rather go to the kiosk? And all the consumers wanted to go over to the kiosk. Okay, so that tells you something. The downside of all this, like every DMS has a place for car insurance information, yet none of them have a way to write information in because no one's ever asked for it before. So we're sitting here with all this car insurance information that we could load back into the dealership systems, but the DMSs just haven't matured enough, probably because no one's been asking, to open up those APIs to make that happen. So, we're all kind of driving into this together, kind of the pioneers trying to figure this out for everybody.
So I've got a list of things here in no particular order and perhaps reverse importance, but these are things that are happening right now with the help of AI generating fraud in the dealership. And you guys can comment on it or not, and we'll just go through it. This will be kind of a little bit of a lightning round to a certain extent. Manipulation, AI-driven pricing validation, or in your desking tools where somebody's changing your pricing and or on the internet. Any comments? Yes, no, heard of? Okay. I'm just throwing these out there as topics if you guys want to comment on them. Yeah. Okay. You're going to pass on that one. That's okay. Internal fraud, and again, we've covered a bunch of these. So internal fraud using AI to fabricate deal jackets, service records, and warranty claims. And again, this is usually an internal fraud or usually based from internal. Kind of covered that. Any other comments?
So keeping track of it is tough because the outcomes happen over a longer period of time. I mean, you could sort of say that auto finance fraud is the slowest moving kind of auto theft, right? And so sometimes when those things are happening, those people have moved on to the next dealership. Maybe with a new identity like you just described.
Okay, this is similar to again, this affecting your inventory, but actually AI-written false listings for cars that don't exist. They call it a ghost inventory. I don't know if you've heard of that or
spoofing the market. If you're offering like price matching, it's more of a business risk, I would say. But yeah, I mean that stuff is starting to happen more and more. I don't know about the U.S. It does happen in some foreign markets, though.
Yeah, and some of this affects some of the systems out there that are effectively scanning the internet for pricing and things like that, where these cars don't really even exist, but they're entering other databases to that degree. Working down again, dealer targeted phishing, fake dealer chatbots capturing deposits, or if I mean again going at it at the business level. You're nodding. You want to comment?
I can tell a story about a customer that walked into a store. The dealership thought something was going crazy, all right? Didn't trust a person. They came in, they shopped, and then they left, and they called the next day. They're going to buy the truck, all right? But they had to have it delivered to their house an hour and a half away. All the paperwork checked out, driver's license, like everything was perfect, right? They told the driver, do not deliver that car except for into the driveway of that customer. And so they got up into the driveway of the customer. And the customer came off the porch, said hello. They took delivery of the car, and then the driver went back to the dealership, and then the human just vanished with the car. Right? The fraudster found on social media that people in the house were going to Europe for a month or so. They poached that address. They built a profile and came back in. And when they ran the test on me as we were doing the deal, I'm like, well, it's clearly not her. It's like, well, how do you know? It's like, well, the picture on the driver's license that you have is black, and the person who lives in the house is white. All right, just like like all the names and stuff were the same. But if you're not comparing source documents at that point, you have a problem. But that's what people are going through to try to steal an $85,000 truck.
You just take a picture of the front door like a DoorDash,
There we go.
Yeah. Show the car on the driveway. We delivered it. Okay, this is out there a little bit. I have to mention it though. Voice cloning, social engineering, impersonating customers and or dealership personnel. So you're just shaking your head there.
Well, it is happening. It's a tough one. In as far as dealership personnel in an auto transaction, keeping track of the people at dealership. Not so much. I don't think any of us would do that. Helping to keep track that that's the customer that you're talking to. It's all about verifying, validating their identity, which you can do remotely with your solutions, with other solutions out there, and doing that as soon as possible. So if someone was sitting across the desk from you and they were hitting you up for, I want your best price, but when they go to fill out the paperwork, they can't remember exactly the details of where they worked last, and they go look at their notes to fill it out, you would know that that was an issue. issue. Online, you can't tell, right? Online is that vector where people are coming at it. There are solutions now that are using AI that my company has and others that identify the behavior of the person on the screen. Do they have to copy and paste the first name into the box? Well, that's probably something going on there. Or is it an extraordinary pause, or they look at the mouse movements? So there's a bunch of these tools which are sort of the analog to biometric, right? But in this case, it's the digital activity. Man, I don't know of any right now that are being used in the auto industry to identify what you were just talking about, which is identity spoofing using AI for phone conversations or even video.
Yeah.
But yeah, the website interaction heuristics, that's getting more and more popular, at least in financial services. Again, I don't want to speak for dealerships, but I think that all goes back to one of the key points from the last panel is that at every opportunity, how are you engaging the buyer, the customer, whether it be online or preferably in person? And if you can get that in-person touch point, I think that mitigates a fair bit of this risk as well.
The other point to make is not every indicator of fraud means a person is indeed a fraudster, right? Just two quick examples. If you are a diplomat and you come in, Homeland Security does not keep a copy of that passport. So if they give a passport to identify themselves, that passport may not pass because it's not in the system. It doesn't mean they're a fraudster. What it means is you as a dealer have to be more attentive to what your sales process is before you deliver that car to someone. By the same token, we had a case where a guy came in, buy a car, a young kid, ran through, he failed. And he failed because the kid was 20 and he used his 21-year-old fake, all right, by accident.
I hate it when I use a fake ID to buy a car.
And he goes, let me try that again. And he ran through again and passed fine. I'm like, what happened with that? And so, as a retailer, you have to understand none of these systems are going to be perfect for the good guys or the bad guys. So it's your job when you get a negative report to decide how you want to handle that, as a retailer.
Okay, so we're going to close out, and I'm going to begin with you, Bob, but I want to set to the scenario from the last panel, as you were just mentioning, the possibility that I'm a legitimate buyer, I want to buy a new product, and we'll just say an F-150 pickup to make it very general, but I've got my agentic AI assistant, and I say, contact all the Ford dealers, find out all their pricing, and then give me the best deal and tell me what they have in inventory. Now they start contacting the dealerships. Now maybe they're contacting a bot at the dealership, maybe they're contacting a person. It's not a real person that's doing anything. And the Gather solution's amazing for when the test drive or the pickup occurs, but during the sales process, how do we allow for the benefits of AI, but still block against the nefarious use of AI? So,
I think the key thing is not to wing it. For fraud to work or for fraud protection to work at a dealership, you have to have a thought out process. You have to have a process that you're going to work every day the same way. And it's going to take some, thought from the dealership to be able to do that. Even going back to, red flag, when that first came out years and years ago, it was building into a proper process that could be automated and repeated every day so that the dealership buys into it. As you're saying, you were seeing people online, in store, different points, but that process should be there that they've got to follow, and you've got to pick the right products. There's a lot of good companies out there. There's a lot of good companies that will do income verification, employment verification, fraud verification. You go down the list, find one that can get as much as you can in one, built out in one, with one company. But then you might need 2 or 3 others to complete the process. So I haven't seen one person be able to do it all. But again, it's not to wing it. And it's not to just look at somebody coming in the door and go, that one could be a fraudster, but I'll let this one go. You've got to follow the same process day in, day out, and make sure it's permanent.
Okay. And I'm going to go to other Jim McGuire. Any closing comments?
So as always, Charlie, you're looking to the future. Yeah. And that top of the funnel activity you're talking about with AI driving it isn't common with consumers yet. but it will be. We all know it's going to be. There are some big lenders who are rolling out solutions to help consumers with purchasing, and so far the take-up has not been large, right? So even though it's a big lender they recognize and they've got their money at that bank and they've got their credit card with that bank, they're not necessarily authorizing that application to go buy things on their behalf. So there's still going to be some consumer learning curve. I guarantee there's some really smart entrepreneur in the room who's going to figure out a tool to help dealers interact with these folks and do a good job of it. But as you said, Bob, once you get past that top funnel activity, you've got to do all the same verifications, validations to keep yourself safe and your business safe.
Mike Carter, we haven't even mentioned about buying a car with your your crypto coins.
Oh God, yeah, I don't want to talk about it. So I'm the most non-crypto guy you'll meet probably. I'll just finish up with, and Bob, it's a little bit of summarizing what you said. Just listen, train your staff and empower them with processes and tools, and do the best you can. So.
Yeah, there is no doubt that Kevin's dealership has a written process for how they want everything to happen. And I think that the dealers need to go back and say, hey, where in my processes do I want to make sure I'm dealing with a real human, right, who has good intentions at my store versus someone who doesn't? And that process may be different in store. It may be different online. Hey, if someone doesn't want to engage right now until they land on a car, or they have to, like, how do you handle that? I think dealers need to go and look at those processes and figure out where the different pieces to fit in so that it's easy to train. It happens the same way every time, so it doesn't break down.
Yep, and appreciate that, because that's a step. Kevin's going to be next up in the fireside along with Niff. But we're going to take a short break right now. Before we do, let's thank our panel, talk about fraud. So thank you guys. This will be something we'll be learning about and we'll have to pay attention to going forward. Take a quick break. Let's get back in here at 11:15, and we've got another discussion before lunch.
Thanks to 700 Credit and moderator Charlie for tackling such an important topic. We'll be right back with more insights and innovation.
Dealership service teams are leaving thousands on the table. Why? Because they're flying blind. Service advisors don't know their close rates. Managers don't see the coaching gaps. Motivation fades, revenue stalls. Introducing Rocket Booster, the next evolution of performance management and training for dealerships. See real-time close rates by product and compare against store averages. Fuel healthy competition with product-specific leaderboards. Track progress over time. Spot gaps instantly. But how does Rocket Booster actually work? It starts by connecting with your dealership's DMS system to gather real performance data. For example, how many customers say yes to service, such as brakes, batteries, or alignments? Then, Booster turns that data into clear dashboards inside the Rocket app. You'll instantly see how your team ranks in each product compared to their peers and store averages. And here's the game changer. Booster links your performance to personalized training. So you don't just see the numbers, you actually get the tools to improve them. With Rocket Booster, training isn't a checkbox. It's an automated performance engine. The results speak for themselves. Real lifts in performance across dealerships, where the whole team levels up. Every advisor, every product, every time. Advisors see how to win. Managers see where and what to coach, not just who. In short, real data, real insights, and real improvement. All automated, all inside Rocket Booster.
Started small with a dream in our hands, helping good people grow the brands. Built on service, doubt and truth. We grind each day for the clients we choose. Not some set it and forget it show. We dive in deep where the numbers flow. From auto lots to homes that shine, we make their message rise online. We're searching
Do me a great favor and give a nice warm welcome to Christian Jordan, the CEO of Remora.
Thank you. A lot of these things I'm going to show you, some people have never seen before, and it has been my work passion for 20 years now to get this right. I started by building a website for the dealership that I worked at, which was Santa Fe Ford in Gainesville, Florida, and it was so powerful and so much just changed the entire culture at the store. I couldn't bottle it up for one store, and that's when I decided to start a company, and that was in 2008. Since then, the reality is modern search is a battle of the webmasters. It really comes down to the technology that's running your website and most of the things you have zero control over. So that choice of who is serving your website is vitally important for your business. I don't know how well you can see this, but I'll read it. It's used Nissan Rogue. We're getting a lot of nice visibility in the AI search. This is coming from just that what we do is genuine and real. So Google can turn the knobs constantly on the algorithm, and they do. But what they can't change is the input factors. What is a quality website? What is a happy user? These inputs, if you stay focused on those, when they turn the knobs, you end up just getting more traffic, more visibility. So now with the AI, we're seeing that where we're getting, link right to the website from AI search on commercial terms like used Nissan Rogue. This is an independent used dealer. I wanted to start with them because it really doesn't have to be a franchise. If you're doing it right, your car is the star.
legacy pre-qualification apps on most dealer websites that are collecting name and address, phone number, email, are susceptible to these automated fraud attempts. When we created VeriQual, we knew up front when identity verification, right? So we had to be able to verify someone's identity before we actually do the credit pre-qualification. Going back to the legacy tools, it was always about just getting that pre-qualification, pulling credit, soft pull, right? But adding the identity verification to that stops what we were just talking about with these legacy systems, letting that information go through, pulling the credit, and then providing that pre-qualification to the fraudster so that they can actually go out and use that information. Stops it right at the very beginning. It's patent pending, so doing identity verification with credit together with just a phone number. We're using just the phone number, so it's a much smoother process.
What happens when you bring enterprise-grade security and the simplicity consumers expect into your showroom and service drive? You protect profits, you reduce risk, you gain trust. Gather combines Clear's multi-layered identity verification with real-time insurance validation, bringing the same technology trusted by millions at airports, retail, hospitals, and on social media right to your dealership. With Gather, every customer is automatically logged into your systems with verified information. Accurate records mean actionable follow-up, and every advertising dollar you spend goes further. And the same technology that powers this automation also protects your dealership. Fraud is on the rise. From the showroom to loaner vehicles, Gather helps mitigate your risk, backed by a $1 million no-fraud guarantee. But it's not just protection, it's profit. Shoppers argue over small differences in their car payment. They'll walk away just as fast if insurance premiums get in the way. Gather prevents that. And if a buyer doesn't have coverage, they can get insurance on demand. Deal saved. Gather also ensures loaner car customers have compliant insurance. No gaps, no unpaid claims. This is technology consumers know, a brand they trust, and a process they'll actually engage with. Gather with Clear, the new standard for dealerships nationwide. Contact Gather today to learn about a special offer and get started.
Power on the experiences consumers want and the results dealers need. With the most powerful insights and the only true omni-channel partner in the industry. Only Cox Automotive has the best-in-class connected solutions. No matter where or how a consumer finds you, or the turns they take along the purchase path, shoppers and sellers stay in sync from marketing to sales to back office to fixed ops. Fueled by artificial intelligence from the industry's most robust, real-time consumer database. Sellers get deal-winning insights and more control than they've ever had. With the next-level, efficiency-driving automation spanning Cox Automotive products. Cox Automotive relentlessly innovates for dealers with a lineup of expertise and a customer experience infrastructure no one else comes close to. Pair that with a deep dealership experience of our performance managers, and you get a world-class team helping you secure profitable outcomes with comprehensive products and solutions. Get to yes with digital counteroffers on consumer deal submissions based on shopping behavior from 7 out of 10 shoppers. Maximize approvals and profitability when you auto-route credit applications with AI-driven decisioning. Boost deal efficiency by leveraging AI automation for built-in ID verification, fraud and compliance checks, document uploads, and digital contracting. Grow your inventory with an offer the consumer can't refuse when you identify vehicles coming in for service that fit your strategy or maybe another consumer's interest. Harness the strength of unrivaled automotive retail technology with a partner wielding unmatched industry expertise for fully connected, consistent experiences that put dealers firmly in control with actionable insights for the most profitable outcomes and unforgettable customer experiences.
Terry, you recently released a public service announcement about AI-driven fraud exploiting pre-qual web apps. And so is this for the dealership?
Yeah, we found that the legacy pre-qualification apps on most dealer websites that are collecting name and address, phone number, email, are susceptible to these automated fraud attempts. And we've uncovered this just recently and found that these legacy pre-qualification web apps are allowing these bots to submit their information to figure out if that customer can actually pre-qualify. And once they find that they're pre-qualified, they can use that name and address and phone number for other applications of potential fraud that consumer would.
Dealership service teams are leaving thousands on the table. Why? Because they're flying blind. Service advisors don't know their close rates. Managers don't see the coaching gaps. Motivation fades, revenue stalls. Introducing Rocket Booster, the next evolution of performance management and training for dealerships. See real-time close rates by product and compare against store averages. Fuel healthy competition with product-specific leaderboards. Track progress over time. Spot gaps instantly.
Aaron.
But how does Rocket Booster actually work? It starts by connecting with your dealership's DMS system to gather real performance data. For example, how many customers say yes to service, such as brakes,
First of all, I want to
batteries,
thank
or
everybody
alignments?
again for participating in this
Booster
conference.
turns
I
that
think it's
data
been great.
into clear dashboards inside
there
the
is an ebb
Rocket
and flow
app.
when you have panels.
You'll instantly
Not every
see how your
person's
team ranks
in
in
every
each
panel.
product
Understand
compared
that.
to
So
their
we're
peers
taking
and
some
store
notes for
averages.
next year, and we've already had
And
a lot of
here's the game
sponsors.
changer.
Attendees
Booster
come up
links
to
your
us and say, "Hey,
performance
we're
to
in next year." So
personalized training.
that's very exciting.
So you don't just see the
can we
numbers,
get a clap for
you
that?
actually get the tools to improve them. With Rocket Booster, training isn't a checkbox.
So I just want to
It's
remind
an
everybody
automated
about the raffle.
performance engine.
If you need
The
raffle
results
tickets,
speak for themselves.
arm's length,
Real
$50
lifts in
bucks, or you can
performance
get
across
5 for 10.
dealerships.
We're giving
where
away
the whole
2
team
nights
levels
here.
up. Every advisor,
whenever you
every
want to come
product,
here, whether it's
every
summer,
time.
spring, or fall.
Advisors
and then,
see how to win.
Around the golf
Managers
for 2 people
see
at the
where
stadium
and
course,
what
which
to
is
coach,
the Big
not
Daddy.
just who.
Awesome course. It's
In
amazing.
short, real
and
data,
then $200
real
in the pro shop.
insights, and
so
real
keep that in mind. And
improvement.
then we're going to
All
do second
automated,
and third place.
all
We're going to give away
inside
2
Rocket Booster.
Joe Theismann autographed books, and those are great reads too, man. I can't wait to read mine. So anyway, I wanted to just talk a little bit briefly about a council that I'm putting together called Cora, the Council of Responsible AI. We've got a website up. Everyone check it out. It's corateam.com. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring in some really heavy hitters as ambassadors all across the globe to come in and then put together this council together, have some ambassadors, and then have a core of members along with the ambassadors, and then have different meetings throughout the world. And I know that's bold, but our first meeting is going to be in London. We're trying to decide on the date. It's probably going to be next summer sometime. But everybody should go in. If you want to inquire, just go in, give me your name, corateam.com. And then we'll reach out to you when we have more information. And we'd love to get a lot of the companies that specialize in AI, or even dealers that want to learn more about AI, would love to get involved. So this is not a pay-to-play thing. This is not like, hey, if you want your logo on my site, it's $1,500 or whatever. But there is a cost involved if you want to be an ambassador. But if you want to be a member, there's no cost, okay? So keep that in mind. But there's going to be a lot of fringe benefits to traveling. A nice dinner, a couple dinners in the UK is pretty awesome, and learn about AI and have some of the biggest people in AI at that table is pretty cool. So just want to mention that, and thanks again. And I'm going to invite my buddy Charlie back up here. You don't have to run.
Hey, we're back. Get ready for our AI fireside chat. What we've learned so far. This special fireside chat, sponsored by Gather Technologies and Cora, takes a look back at what we've learned so far. With moderator Derek White guiding the discussion, this reflective session highlights the wins, lessons, and opportunities ahead for AI and automotive.
Tim Hayden, please. So welcome these gentlemen to the stage, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the details. So. So a couple quick changes to the books. Obviously, this was set up as a fireside. We're going to do that. Todd is not here. He had to depart. But I want to get everyone prepared. After this is over, we're going to do lunch. And then we have 3 sessions after lunch. We're going to allow the 45 minutes for each of the sessions, but we're going to take away the breaks. So overall, our event will finish around 3:30 instead of 4 o'clock. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 3 sessions in a row after lunch. Plan accordingly, use the restrooms before you come in. Hey, how are you? So I'm going to start at the far end, if you don't mind, Mr. Hayden, if you'll be patient. Kevin Fry, very excited to have you up on stage. And then the reason is Kevin's already been on a couple panels asking questions. Just want to make sure, as any good fireside, we want to make sure we all know who you are. So let's do a little bit of background.
Still the head coach marketing at the Jeff Weiler Automotive family.
Well, let's go before that. You haven't seen your LinkedIn.
I'll say, I was building a question yesterday. I fell into automotive like I believe 95% of people in here do. And we had a series of eBay drop shops where you bring your stuff and we sell it on eBay for you. We were really early in eBay Motors. And so we just started selling cars in eBay Motors and writing the book on it. We were like a bull in a china shop back then. But that's how I fell into automotive, was never selling the traditional way. And I believe that is an advantage I brought into the industry.
Yeah, but I want to go before that because I think this speaks to your, come on. You've got a purposeful approach to the way you do things that I think we all appreciate. And let's talk about, he's a naval aviator, ladies and gentlemen. And we learned yesterday to make sure we give you the due respect. Thank you for your service. But let's talk about that, please.
I was, yesterday said always thank a serviceman. I'm actually going to turn it around. I was really blessed. I grew up poor, first person in my family to go to college. And I was able to do that via Navy ROTC scholarship to a top school. So I want to thank each one of you as taxpayers because that was a blessing to me. Went to flight school. And came out, and I actually was the first squadron that deployed to Kuwait when this guy I didn't know named Saddam Hussein invaded, and it turned into Desert Shield. I flew over 200 combat hours in Desert Storm. I was out there in the first night strike to the end, and came back, married my lovely wife, and then did a second tour for Southern Watch, and I've had my fair share of the Middle East.
Wow. So do you have like your fighter pilot photo in your closing booth? I mean, when you're talking to...
It worked for Julie, so.
Did it? No, I appreciate it. So I mentioned yesterday, I had the good fortune to kick this thing off and talk about the years that I've been in the business. And as I've done and been involved in certain events, you always try and get thoughtful and experienced and good communicators up on the stage. And I think we have that here. And we've always appreciated your presence in that regard. You rocked the first panel of the day, which NIF was doing, so you guys can work things out right here. You did ask a question about synthetic, or was that the word? Yeah.
Synthetic fraud. I'm not afraid to ask the dumb question as Adrian was sharing yesterday. So I hope I didn't sidetrack the session, guys.
No. Appreciated that. So, NIF, again, met you many years ago. You got a great background in the dealerships. Let's talk about that, but let's introduce yourself before you got into the car biz.
Well, I am NIF and good friends with Kevin and Julie and live in the same state. Just don't root for the same team. That's a problem too. Yeah, I know it's a problem. So, someone says OH and I go blue. So, so that's a problem because I live in Columbus too, right?
Yeah.
But I've never been introduced with the words three-way before, so that's a first for me. So thank you, Charlie. I will never forget that.
DealerConnect, it's breaking ground. It's the first.
But no, I work for NCM now. I spent.
Wait, you jumped way too far from.
I know, but I'm going to go backwards.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So I spent 19 years with Germain and had a great career, great run. Worked for Steve Germain. Worked under the auspices of John Melashenko. And for those 19 years. So I spent literally a third of my life at Germain and got to about 2023 and started thinking like, I think I really want to get out and impact the automotive space untethered from Germain. And I left last year left on very, very good terms. And that was at the culmination of just saying, I'm ready. And but I started my career selling cars at Reichert Ford in Columbus, and then went to another group called Buyers, and then landed at Germain in 2005. But I sold cars.
And again, you have good titles. I mean, just when you talk about what we're talking about here in terms from a technology standpoint, let's list those through the dealerships.
So started off with internet sales, BDC operations, eventually went into the digital marketing side of things, and then took over all the marketing and technology. My title at Germain was Marketing and Technology Director.
Yeah.
And I used that experience. I was in NCM 20 groups for about 15 years. Started 2 of those groups with David Kane. And then he gave me the opportunity. It took me about 7 months to make my decision up to do that. But we have 3 digital groups now that talk about that same stuff.
Right. So again, my engagement in this industry, obviously as a vendor to a certain extent, working with Kelley Blue Book and working with JD Power. And then, when you produce events or you have gatherings or panels, the likes of you and Kevin, you always want to have the presence, not only because, again, you're thoughtful, but when you work for that title with Germain of technology, you're almost like the gateway. You're the one that says, we're not going to get to any of their stores unless we can convince you that this is a solution that's providing a problem that you need to solve. So.
Yeah, and technology is everything, right? And we have an expression that we say that before we put a pound of technology in, we're going to put 10 pounds of process in, because otherwise you get dealers who think they have a silver bullet. We had an autonomous environment, meaning the GMs had complete autonomy to run the stores the way they want. So it wasn't just me being convinced. We had to go to each one of the GMs whenever we introduced technology. So, and that can be a challenge because sometimes they don't think they need it, sometimes they do. But getting that consensus, when we built our CDP, we literally had consensus in about 25 minutes with all the GMs. So
Those are your tricks.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But born and raised in Ohio and
yeah,
still there now.
Still there now.
Okay.
Yep.
But although I know you're based out of Kansas, you do a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
Okay, Tim. Is there only one microphone up here?
Do you have was I supposed to grab a mic down there somewhere?
No, it's okay. We'll make it work.
Okay.
We're good at this.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one right
Yeah, there's one right there. See?
I just thought the chair was happy to see me.
We all are.
Yeah.
But
sure. I mean,
how the heck are you?
I'm good.
So
I'm feeling real good now.
So
Yeah.
Derek, we started with, we want to make this all worthwhile for everyone here. So we're going to get into the meat of it here. But as we're bringing some people that we want to know more about on stage, because when you're on the panels, and Niff will be, again, moderating the closing panel today, Derek came up and said, Tim Hayden's coming on the group. And I said, oh, great. And everyone, you got Tim Hayden on there? Oh, he's one of the smartest guys in the whole business. So prove it.
Well, first of all, there's no experts in any of this auto industry or technology. I mean, we're all students right now because of the velocity of change. I'll take it from the top. I was born in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, raised there, went to college in San Marcos, Texas, at what was Southwest Texas State University, is Texas State now. Married a Longhorn, so I'm allergic to certain people in the room at certain times of the year. But my career has always been around technology. It always has. And really, I've owned agencies, I've worked for agencies, I've owned software companies. Some of the things I'm most proud of are before the iPhone, we were doing mobile marketing for Dell when they sponsored Justin Timberlake's Future Sex Love Sounds tour. And I just like to say Future Sex Love Sounds when I find microphones in my chair.
There you go. Right.
And
I think this entire presentation's already been.
It's live streamed, right? Yes, good. And then a few years later, when I was at Edelman, helped Hilton really build out the strategy and the playbook for how we would use our phones. This was 2011. Use our phones to check into our room and circumvent the front desk, and then use the same phone as the key to get in your hotel room. Right? That was 2011 when we did that. Shortly after that, I was living in the Bay Area for a short period of time with a company called Signal Labs, and this was 2014 to 2016, which was that presidential cycle, and we were doing media intelligence and helping everybody from politicians to the world's largest brands understand when things started to trend on Twitter before they'd go on CNN, or were they on CNN or NBC before they trended on Twitter, right? Things are very different today with the access to AI, and that's what we're doing at Brain Trust now. We started in 2016 when I moved back to Texas. Two of my business partners at the time were Chris Barger and Scott Monty, who started the company with me. Some of you in the room may know who those guys are. They were respectively the heads of digital media, General Motors and Ford Motor Company. And our first client, our second client was Brian Benstock. So not only did I fall into, I had done some work with OEMs in my former lives and a little bit of work with Chuck Nash and San Marcos years ago, but it was when I started working with Scott and Chris and really with Brian as a client that we really started to understand what was going on. And that was 2016 to 2018. So I think we're about to talk about everything that we're doing now, but it's all about data. Data is the name of the game, first and foremost, because you can't pass go. It's your ticket to the future. You can't start doing anything with AI until your data is in good shape. And that's our primary remit. And I think we'll talk a little bit about some of the other stuff we're doing.
Well, let's begin with, again, I love technology also. I was that incorrigible, I would have been in your face in 2015, reminding you that we're all going to have autonomous cars by 2020, possibly flying cars. Everything's going to be here by then. Better get ready for it. And of course, it didn't happen. It's more complicated than that. We talked about in the very beginning, the internet. This is its 30th anniversary, and not everyone's got it fully figured out yet.
Right.
So let's talk about this AI. I mean, there's so much coming. You hear it from the Chat GPTs and Gemini of the world, but they're dependent on the noise.
Yes.
So can you cut through that?
Sure. I mean, I live in Austin, Texas, and I've lived there for the better part of 26 years now. And, today we have 500 self-driving cars on our streets from 4 different companies.
Yeah.
Right? Not just Waymo. And we've got a manufacturing plant just east of town where they pump out Cybertrucks and Model 3s and do all kinds of things. And not too far from us, there's the Boring Company, which is also based there.
And that's, again, to remind you, that's the tunneling company.
The tunneling company that the same investment group owns.
Yes.
And then just little things like the 11,000 satellites that circle the planet right now, 7,000 of them also belong to that same group of investors, right?
Yeah.
Starlink. There's a lot of infrastructure like that. I lead with infrastructure because the infrastructure itself is producing data, and car dealers are no different, right? They have data in every. I loved how Joe said it yesterday with offense, defense, and special teams, right? There's wonderful, beautiful data that comes from all those operations, and dealers just with machine learning can go from 0 to 80 miles an hour, figuratively talking here, in terms of the performance of their operations just with machine learning. And now AI is here, right?
Yeah.
To as it's been discussed on the stage, to do a whole lot of good and to have a lot of risk with it as well. I don't think anybody in the room knows where this is going to be a year from now. I've said it for the last 2 years. I've sat on stage with Cliff Banks at Autovate,
right?
And everything's a fireside chat for him. And he always asks everybody, "Where's this in 25 years?" And I say, I don't think anybody can say where this is going to be. You get your flying cars in 25 years, for sure. But, we'll be talking about agent connectivity more than API connectivity a year from now, as an example. That's how fast AI is moving.
Right. Going back to you gentlemen, and I'll start with you, Nif. But I know you're a trainer, or instructor, coach now. But as you know, as you do that, and as you represent your dealership history, as we're talking about this, you know, when we connected months ago on the formation of this gathering, AI, talk about a few, and you get ready for this also, Kevin, things that now we're a day and a half into it, or, you know, we just got the afternoon left ahead of us, some great panels. So what have you seen anything new, different, or have you picked up something that you're happy that to know everybody's aligned, or you're concerned that they're not, or?
Well, I think that dealers have to keep in mind that AI is impacting all of it, from the back office to the front line, to the website, to the phone systems, to the continuous follow-up. It's involved in everything. And I liken AI to assisted intelligence, not artificial intelligence. All my 20 groups are talking about it, to the point now that our next round of meetings in Q1, we're literally installing, with the help of Dave Sponicky and Reunion Marketing. We'll shout out for him on this, but he created basically a 4-hour workshop for our 20 groups, because they're operational marketing directors, meaning that they're not siloed in a marketing department. They're actually involved in the financial statement and every aspect of the business as well. And what's cool about that is that we're going to get learned. We're going to get learned up and figure out how AI is impacting this. And then what we're going to do is assign them a best idea contest for the next meeting to go back and implement something using AI, not a vendor. They have to do it themselves in order to impact their dealership. And they could fail miserably, but it's the idea of getting them in the practice of using AI. But, you know, we saw inklings of this with like Numa and Stella answering the phones, and those things continue to get better, but they're not fully perfected yet, right? And I think that's the one thing we got to keep in mind, is that this is a steady progression of continuous improvement when it comes to AI. It's got to learn, you know, everything we need to know.
Yeah. Kevin?
I try and speak on behalf of the average dealer out there, and I think they're completely overwhelmed with what they're seeing. And if you're a little bit behind the curtains on this, I've never seen anything like this in my life. It is literally growing so fast. It's growing exponentially. It's transforming the tech side of our industry every 2 weeks. So it can either A, scare the living dickens out of you, or B, what I'm going to tell you is this is hands down the most exciting time to be in automotive in history. This is way bigger than like when the internet came out on websites. It's mind blowing. And already just from today, but the calls I'm getting each week with the new solutions leveraging AI is mind-blowing. So rather than be overwhelmed, what I've tried to do as a dealer is step back and then share with other dealers is get ready and build a foundation of bedrock with your foundation. That's why, and Sean really led the way on this with the CDP, and I promise you, you don't have to spend these crazy numbers I've seen out there. We're 2.5 years into this, and our total spend is less than $200,000. So consolidate your data, do a basic data hygiene, and at least you have your ducks in a row when these folks come calling with the latest AI solution. And from there, I'm as excited as I'll get out what we're going to be able to do with it.
Yeah. So I have a vivid imagination, and putting the two panels together, yours, and then when I was moderating the fraud group, and just inventing this scene. And so it could be, you know, again, just a unicorn or real. But as I'm trying to learn as a personal user of AI, I'm going to create these, you know, this agentic use. My agents are going to go out there, as I mentioned, shopping for a Ford F-150 or shopping for my next vehicle. And I'm going to say, you know, contact all the local dealers and go ahead and check the Western United States for inventory, et cetera, and tell me, well, who's got the best selection or price, or what I want. And then on the other side, frauds, you know, suggesting we need to put barriers so that we're not talking to artificial people, or, you know, so what is my agent? How does that fit in? Am I making up a dream world, or is there any reality to that?
No, I mean, this is the what I said earlier about access, right? Of the 800 million people each week that are using ChatGPT, which will be the AOL of AI, market. It will be the AOL.
Will we all
of
get
AI.
a disc that we can?
And we're all going to find in our junk drawer a password for ChatGPT 20 years from now and go, I remember those days.
Yeah.
I mean, I think honest to goodness, there's 800 million people, there's at least 50 million of them that are doing bad things, right? And it used to be that a young Romanian boy would train his whole life just to get into a system and get 100,000 credit card numbers in a matter of seconds. And now it's a room, it's a building full of people in Vietnam that are sending us text messages asking if we'll go to yoga with them tomorrow. And as soon as we reply to them, they confirm our phone number's right. They go to the dark web and they sell it and they trade it for a social security number. And then they go for that. Then you've got identity theft. You've got fraud. That's what's happening today. And there's AI at the other end that's allowing them to not just, again, looking for the vulnerability in a system to get in and commit cyber threats now. It is them using agents and using AI to knock on millions of doors 24 hours a day, waiting for that vulnerability to be spotted so they can get in and they can disrupt something. I mean, we're 9 days after AWS had an outage for the better part. I mean, CDK hit this industry really hard, but AWS hit the world hard a Monday and Tuesday a week ago, right? When they had their outage. There's just a whole lot moving, and there's a whole lot of fragility, house of cards with the way legacy systems are built. And that's what I think we're going to see here is there are going to be those that do navigate tech debt and they move forward with new systems. But I think to what Nifs said earlier about some AI getting better, the problem right now is that if the AI gets better, that's cool, but there's going to be better AI that comes out later, and that's what we do. That's one of the things we're looking at for many of our clients in automotive and outside is how do they create infrastructure that allows them to be able to switch AI as AI changes.
Well, and again, my suggestion was simply, how do you block? You can't block all AI because if we consumers are using it the way we're supposed to, we're creating these agents to do our car shopping for us. We'll have to come into the dealer to do the test drive or make the deal, but at least top of the funnel stuff can be done, again with AI on our behalf. And you want to have your gateway, but you got to let the right people through the door, I guess. So,
well, I think you have like what's been already stated. We've got to train, especially from a search standpoint, from an answer engine standpoint. We need our websites, we need our content in social media and otherwise to educate models to mention us and refer people back to us. Yes, we do. However, we don't need to have anybody uploading spreadsheets to ChatGPT, and that's what's happening. Granted, it's like and I say this all the time, it's like a speck of sand in the Sahara Desert in the grand scheme of things, but still, when you upload anything to Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT, you don't know where it goes. And then again, look what just happened in the last week. Each of those companies has launched browsers with AI in them that were proven in less than 24 hours to be sucking all the data off of anywhere you took the browser. So, they even had, the guidance at first in saying, do not access your bank account using this browser, right? Well, as soon as they say that, why would you use it anywhere else?
Right.
So it's a data race. And to put it in terms that I think everybody can really understand it is, we've spent 17 years with 40 to 80% of our top line spend going out to two companies, right? Meta and Alphabet, or Facebook and Google. And those companies are under siege right now. And the companies that want to replace them in terms of commanding our attention during our waking hours are going to do everything at any cost to get more data to make their AI do more things, which is where I believe we'll see the open source world, the open weight world of AI, which I'll park it here, but that's what's going to win the business race. Is I think businesses are going to understand with PII or PHI in healthcare, you can't trust these big public entities, and it's better for you to have it under lock and key in your organization, which is what a lot of the CDP vendors are doing. It's what DriveCentric is doing on the CRM front, right? Looking at very secure AI operations, and I think that's the direction it's going to go. I'll leave it there.
Well, it's interesting because, again, you talk about all these outside firms. I'm from the Bay Area. We see all the magic coming out of Silicon Valley, real or not. 40 years ago, I joined this industry. This thing called the PC is showing up on people's desks. I'm introduced to this object called a DMS, which I don't fully understand, but people are talking at that time going, it won't be long, everything will be on PCs. These are going away. This is left over from an IBM era. Kevin's bringing it up today in his panel that the DMS is behind the times. Obviously didn't go away. And let's talk about how does this core form of technology within the dealership operation move in the right directions. In some ways, it's good to have it be solid and somewhat unmoving, but at the same time, you've got to get technology going.
So it's both DMS and CRM. And I got to tell you, when I came into the industry, the first time I saw Reynolds and Reynolds, I about fell down laughing. Like, this is mainframe technology from 1973. And if I could, I'll share a story where I got in a lot of trouble at NADA speaking some years ago. Does anybody remember the show, The $6 Million Man?
Yeah.
So I played the intro of that, and he has the accident, and they're like, we will rebuild him. It's like, and I said, this is proof that Reynolds has not updated their technology since 1974. Yeah, it brought the house down. It's the truth. It's exactly what the DMS looked like. But fast forward to today, the DMS is not able to house all of the data we have. The CDP does. The CRMs we work with cannot, or they cannot ingest our CDP, let alone ingest a return signal. And Gary was talking to me earlier. There's really no reason to market out of that platform, right? So we're looking for more robust marketing actionable platforms to leverage the data. The beauty to me of everything that's going on, we do all this talk about data, and we've had data for years. We just haven't been able to do anything with it because there's just a sheer magnitude of it. It's AI has finally given us the ability to not only make it actionable, but to do it real time. And now I'm seeing this agentic stuff is mind blowing, building out platforms in 48 hours that were taken 2 to 3 years. I mean, if any of you, is anybody ever in here went to like Google or Facebook headquarters or even dealer.com? And there was always that dark room, you open the door, there's like 200 coders over the glow of the video screens. That stuff today with AI is being pounded out in hours. It's just absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, and again, NIF as a gateway to technology, you saw that. How was there ever an effort to change the DMS or talk about whatever?
Well, these legacy platforms cannot be rebuilt. That's why they bolt everything onto it. I mean, if they were, it's sort of like Jerusalem, right? Jerusalem is 200 feet higher than it was 1,000 years ago, right? Because it just keeps being destroyed, and then they build right back on top of it. And to Kevin's point, we throw this word around data so loosely, like we did SEO for the last 10 years, right? So loosely defined. And now you got to realize that data is not just a name file. It's everything. It's transactional behavior data. It's website shopping behavior, internet behavior, right? And AI can help us assimilate all this, but we have to start thinking like, what does data exist in? It exists in our photos that we take. It's in our social media. It's in obviously our DMS and CRM systems. Everything we have now is attached to data. And that's why there's all these data centers cropping up all over the country. Columbus, Ohio right now, in addition to the Facebook data center, has 32 data centers right now. We're sucking so much electricity out of Columbus, Ohio that we have to buy electricity from Indiana just to power them.
Yeah.
And AI is causing the power grids to really buckle down because everybody's using it. The generative power that comes from using AI is increasing the demand on these servers like we don't even know.
Yeah.
We should just get the electricity from Kentucky because they don't use it anyhow.
Oh man, no, I'll back that up. I had the chief operating officer for ERCOT in Texas speak at a breakfast event a couple months ago, and he was saying that they have companies coming in asking ERCOT to help them understand where in the state they can set up the data centers, and gave us this. He says the city of Lubbock, Texas is a 450,000 megawatt city. These data centers are sometimes 700,000 megawatt data centers. To quantify it, what you're talking about, and Elon Musk says this on podcasts all the time. He's like, America, being the most developed country in the world, is actually going to go through a period where we go through rolling blackouts and become a developing country again. It's because we are. The guy at ERCOT said it's hair dryers and coffee makers that they have to spin up the power the most for. The EVs are just like our smartphones. They're smart now. They don't charge the whole time. They can sense what the pull is, and they don't pull all the time, right? He says it's not even a blip on our radar right now. We can't see that everybody's home charging their cars because it doesn't work that way, right? It's other things and now data centers, which is going to pull all of it.
Yeah, and there's a separate conversation we can have on that. Let's talk about, again, we're here about AI. We're here, you're working in the dealership. I think I can tell your attitude, but let's have you say it out loud, Kevin. How excited are you for AI? How much are you into it? I mean, I know you've indicated some trepidation, but
it's reinvigorated me. It really has, and a lot of the other people I work with in the industry, of how exciting it is. And for me, I think we're going to see an unprecedented modern car retailing experience, personalized like you've never imagined before. I made a video for a meeting with Cox 2 or 3 years ago, the dealership of the future. It looked really far and spacey out there. Now it's completely realistic, where somebody is hitting the website. We immediately know who they are. We know what their buying preferences are. We're changing the website dynamically, real time, to show them that vehicle. Showing them trucks and leases, which they've always got. They go in the showroom. We know what they buy in F&I. I just 2 weeks ago saw an F&I Solutions now incorporating AI based on all that historical data. And to me, that's just the beginning, because this whole idea, and I keep going back to this, of CDP, don't get one unless you have a way you're going to measure success. And so I looked at the Fortune 500s. Why did they do this? We want to improve customer retention. So then it's the whole idea of leveraging that same AI to make them feel valued, not just personalized, but valued, so that they stay in that entire life cycle within your business. So all of us know that OEM loyalties are at all-time lows, dealership loyalties are all-time lows. We got to fight back. And to me, this is a great opportunity to do that. So I'm very excited about it.
Great. And Nif?
I have been using AI, honestly, mostly for one thing, and that is summarizing data for my dealers. And I can take as an example, I can take a mystery shop review and say, give me a summary on this. And it's easier to break down the data when you have this and saying, all right, here's where your areas of needed improvement are. So I find it easy to assimilate lots of data. We don't allow at NCM to upload anything customer related into AI. It's against the rules and it's blocked. But the point is that think about all the reports we have, all the dashboards. If this industry has this ADD problem, another darn dashboard, right?
Yeah. Say that out loud, because everyone needs to know what ADD means to
another darn dashboard, right? We don't need any more dashboards. So the amount of data that we have to go through on a regular basis at the dealer world and even at our level, but AI is making it much, much easier for us to say, what's really going on here? Give me the summary. And then I can use my brain to think about how I can help the dealer get better. And that's the ultimate goal, is to help dealers get better.
Yeah, and join your perspective, because again, knowing the dealer operations, now you're MCM, and now you're dealing with dealers that aren't as advanced as you were at Germain, or even, significantly less, and bringing them all to the fold or up to a certain level. And again, how far do you go, and how far do you push them? So it's got to be interesting.
Yeah, I think that a lot of dealers want to get better. They just don't. It's one thing to be able to ask the question, but a lot of dealers don't even know what questions to ask. And that's what we have to help them do. It's like, let's show you, we call it, let's show you how ugly your baby is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Then they go, oh, I get it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's just in the last 3 years, me speaking to Native 20 groups, joining V20 with Dave, David, and Brett. The digital literacy is improving across vendors and dealers alike right now. And to a point that Kevin just put out there, the good news for the auto industry is that it's a C+ industry. And the good news is that the bad news is that it's a C+ industry. But the good news is that it's got nowhere to go but up, right? And to the point you made about growing lifetime value, the majority of people in the room, and that's not a critique, but the majority of the people in the industry have over-optimized the top of the funnel about car sales, vehicle sales, inventory. Where do I find the inventory, and where do I sell the inventory? Instead of the thing I like to say is I grew up in Dallas-Fort Worth and always had a Cadillac or a Lexus in the garage. My parents did, right? And came from one place, came from one person. It did the whole time. Not personalization, but individualization. And that's where we are right now with, this is why you have, you've got companies like HubSpot and Salesforce that are starting to come over into automotive, Telium, Treasure Data, Amperity, Zeta Global. These are technologies that have been proven at scale in enterprises everywhere but automotive, that are now showing up and saying, now we can show you what this is all about in terms of understanding that you don't have just 10 personas, but you've got 1,000 different archetypes that buy from you. I don't know if anybody follows Ryan Rohrman, but that's probably one of the folks that's using a combination of Telium and Snowflake right now to build as many as, and manage as many as 600 or 700 different audiences in real time to drive every piece of the business up, right? Which is the point you're making, Kevin, is in building and fortifying the relationship with your customer, you're also executing a win-back strategy to everything you lost to Jiffy Lube, Firestone, and Pep Boys over the last 20, 30 years. Have people come back. And guess what? Not only will they spend more with you, but they'll be part of a customer experience. And when it's time for a trade or for them to buy a new one, the propensity for them to buy it from you goes up too.
Yeah, the last thing I'd say too is that AI is giving us the ability to bring the high touch back in behind the high tech, right? Allowing people to work with people again and have all this information, create that personalization that people like, but high touch, high tech, because tech's not selling the cars. It ultimately comes down to a person, right? And that's what's beautiful about this thing. It's making our jobs easier. It shouldn't replace us. And we talked about that on the panel this morning, right? Tech is not the replacement for us.
No, and again, reflecting on when the internet came out 30 years ago, there was some big spikes in individual dealerships, but the overall car sale numbers didn't change. I mean, you just were taking market from your competitor or other dealers. So It's interesting. I love the word digital literacy. I think it's interesting because it's a moving target. I mean, it's just, you can say, oh, I'm digitally literate, but now AI has got to be part of your digital literacy, and it goes all the way back to your customers, or, even if they're texting or calling, or just the communication level. It to me, it's a great umbrella statement, but it's very aspirational. So I appreciate it. We're out of time. Any closing comments, gentlemen? Thanks for being up here, by the way.
I would just say I love the line that ChatGPT will be the AOL of the future.
Market.
But all in seriousness, every one of you in here right now is a pioneer and a leading edge of this, and you should be excited about that.
Yep, got it?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, no, I mean, digital literacy is about discussions internally first, about how you're going to measure success. That's for you who owns a business to figure out first, is how do you want to measure success? What do you aspire to do? What do you want to stop doing so much of before you talk to a vendor? That's my take on it. Before you ask for a demo, have some definition to what it is you're trying to move and what it is you want to do better, and look at 20 groups and look at other sources of discussion and ideas to get some of that guidance.
Yeah, and the last thing I'd say is this, is that collaboration amongst our digital partners is extremely important. I always found it effective when my digital partners were working on my behalf, but they were working together. And we can do that through these organizations, the 20 groups and so forth, is lean into people that are doing what you're going through. There's a lot to learn right now. And to your point about pioneers, right? We're all pioneers on this thing. So
yeah, no, and I just say that too. I mean, we have just yesterday, I have a dealer client, on not as many rooftop side of things, who's using Telium. And just yesterday, we gave login credentials to Loon, Dealer OMG, and Reunion Marketing so they could come in and get audiences to activate in the things that they were overseeing. So it's to the point you're making right there is the cooperation and the responsible agreement, right? You know, we're going to give you least privilege access. You can't see all the data. You can see the data you need to do your job. Both with everybody in the dealership, but also any of your vendor or agency partners. It's happening in pockets like that, and that's the kind of thing you're talking about scaling, and I think it's got to happen.
that's a great example. And James Klaus has some of the coolest hats with those little loons on there. So I'm waiting
He promised he was going to FedEx one to me.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And I have to add, just again, every now and then I feel like I'm the outside looking in, and I admire all the work you guys are doing. But again, digital literacy is a reminder for your customers and for those of us on the outside. We're being taught by everyone else. Our digital literacy is coming from our what phone we have or from Amazon or what we're using, and then we expect that competence when we come to deal with all of you, and that's the comparison that's been brought up several times, but I'd like to just close on that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. It is lunchtime. We can continue the conversation. Nice meal. Thank you. We'll take all the applause you want, and we're back in here at 1:15. We're going to go through 3 great panel sessions, and we're going to finish off by 3:30. We'll see you soon.
Hey, big thanks to Gather Technology, Cora, and moderator Derek for that great reflection on AI progress so far. More panels coming up soon.